Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we will be talking about 4 different amazing indie game news stories before, of course, we hop in to News Cram with a bunch of different news stuff to talk about. We also are going to be heading over to Fig. Big change.
Hell
this
yeah,
week.
man.
Yeah.
We're back in it.
We're going to be hopping over to Fig to check out a new multiplayer party game answering a gazillion. That's a big number right there. It's a gazillion listener questions.
There's a lot this week. There's a lot.
There absolutely is. And
Some might say too many.
I'm more excited for some than others, if I have to say.
I would 100% agree with that.
But before we get into that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, this kid, this right here, this ginger boy. That's me, Vaughn Hyde, and alongside my illustrious co-host, I actually think on the video thing you're on this side, maybe.
I never know because
co-host, the biggest of average Josh boys. How you doing today, big Josh boy?
I'm doing well. I never know either. I mean, granted, I would. I think I'm on the right side. I don't fucking know. But whenever we're recording, we have Discord open, which I'm facing this way on Discord. But when I'm recording, I'm facing the other way because it's like inverted, and it's confusing as fuck because it just looks like I'm talking to myself half the time.
It's weird. Yeah, the setup is odd. I'm also like, I keep getting distracted by my own face on my second monitor.
Like
I'll
who's
be
that
like sitting over
beast?
here. Exactly. Yeah. No. With me, it's like kind of like a squirrel thing, but it's like a survival reflex where out of the corner of my eye I see something moving. I'm like, what is that?
Don't fuck with me.
We're good. I'm pretty sure my cat just like put his paw under the door. Creepiest thing cats ever fucking do is when they like paw the door and shit like that. You're like, get out of here. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm coming in.
Yeah. He's a little piece of shit. Cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's a little piece of shit.
That pretty much sums up cats in general. Like, I feel like that's all cats.
Yeah, that's honestly, okay, something that I have to talk about before we get into the news or this weird story I want to tell you is the dominance in like cat culture in especially indie games, especially when it comes to the wholesome games, which we're going to talk about this week.
Riddled with cats.
So many fucking cats, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, what the shit is up with this cat thing? Maybe it's because I just didn't own cats before and didn't notice, but there's so many cats.
I don't know. You're either on dog side or cat side, I guess. But
honestly, I don't trust animals in general. My wife asked me. She was like, "So, would you say you're more of a dog person or a cat person?" And I was like, "For survival reasons, a cat person." She's like, "What does that even mean?" And I was like, "See, here's the thing. I can guarantee I could punt the cat into the next universe. Like it'd be fucking gone. It would just evaporate. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about it. Cat comes at me, it's fucking dead. Like, I just pile drive it.
I mean, you could say the same for a dog, depending on what type of dog.
See, but that's the thing.
Well,
yeah,
you could argue that you could buy a lion. That's still a cat.
I'm not talking about a fucking mountain lion. I'm talking about a house cat.
Well, you could get a chihuahua, and you could punt that.
That's fair, but they fucking suck. So that's the deal. Is like, cats, they're cool. They take care of themselves. And they like the pets and stuff, like they're a little cuddly, versus like the dogs that I could guarantee that I could beat in a fight. They're just annoying.
Let's play this from a different survival stage, right? Let's say this is end of the world stage, all right? Mm-hmm. And you got this dog. Dogs are great for hunting. You could train that dog to help you survive when the rest of the world goes to shit. A cat ain't gonna do shit for you. A cat's gonna catch you a dead bird. I mean, maybe you could possibly eat that. That's not gonna get you nothing.
A cat's gonna bring you a dead bird. You're like, here's the thing. I could just eat the cat too. I mean, come on.
I mean,
but also,
if the dog's gonna be bigger, you should probably eat the dog then.
You literally just had to explain to me how to click on a link. You think I'm gonna be able to train a dog how to hunt in the apocalypse?
I guess that's true.
Come on, Josh.
All right. Well, you know what? Fine. Stick with your damn cats.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna see they keep themselves clean. They I don't have to do they poop in a box. Like my wife cleans it up, which is cool. Like that's fine, I guess. So I really have no involvement other than loving the cats. So perfect animals. And if they ever did decide to come back on me, dude, fucking versus a dog, they'll go for the throat, dude. I'm scared of them.
You just argued for all of the bad things about a cat, you're like, my wife deals with it anyway. It doesn't matter what pet you have. You clearly do nothing is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Also, I live in an apartment, so having a dog would just be annoying. But
that is 100% true. As a person who had a dog while it's still in an apartment, it sucks.
Yeah, I feel bad for dogs in apartments because I'm like, you're not meant to be here. No. Like it's so weird. It's kind of like when you see those pictures of like paintings or photographs of like a plant coming through like growing through the crack in a sidewalk, and you're just like, oh, it's like life finds a way kind of a thing. Like a dog being in an apartment just feels unnatural. You're like, I feel so bad for you just in general. So here you go. I'm probably never going to own a dog because I got to make sure that I could kill it if I had to, you know.
Oh my God.
And I just don't think I could.
You're missing out. Dogs are great, man. I love my
They
dog.
are. Man's best friend, honestly.
It's true.
Yeah, I just don't trust him. Look into their eyes, too much joy there.
Not a fan. Joy. Well, nothing happy. That's why I'm your co-host.
But the other, like, I guess quick story I wanted to tell you was, I'm sitting here, I'm chatting with my friends the other day,
all right.
and Chase was like goofing on me because I never respond to him because I'm really bad at responding.
Bad
and
friends.
we got like, yeah, we just got into a conversation, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, he like watched one of our like podcast recordings, and he's like, that Josh boy, he's pretty cute." And I was like, "I know, right?" I was like, "Dude, and you don't even know." I'll read exactly what I said to him because it totally like he was like, "What?" And it was honestly one of my favorite things that I've ever said. And he was like, "No, dude, just no," because he said, fuck, I don't even think I'll be able to find it, honestly.
Oh, no. So unprepared.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm not prepared at all. It's
worst.
pretty fantastic. He basically said that he saw you and thought you were a cute boy. And I was like, "Oh, damn. Dude, you don't even know. The other day we were recording our we were recording our Game Awards stream, and he stood up, boy's got a donk." I was like, "And he's I was like, and he's shredded too." I was like, "Oh, here you go." He says, "Josh is a good-looking boy. I just watched some of last week's episode on YouTube." And I said, "Yeah, I saw him stand up during our Game Awards stream, and that boy's shredded with a thick donk too." And he was like, "That might be an all-time weird thing I've ever heard." And I was like, about to make me act up. And he's like, "I hate that."
Oh, man. Too far. I love it.
So there is my other thing I needed to tell you is that you're a cute boy. So there you go.
Well, I think with that out of the way, we should probably talk about games.
Absolutely. We do need to. Yeah, just get the big Josh boy love out of there. Josh, you have been playing Call of the Sea by Out of the Blue Games. Are you playing this on Xbox Game Pass?
I sure am.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, this is another one of those. It's on Game Pass, so I gotta play it. I feel like a lot of the times people probably think I don't buy anything because I literally just talk about Game Pass games all the time. And you know what? You might be right.
I mean, that's what's so nice about Game Pass, though, is that, like, the other day I was like, man, I want to buy Jedi Fallen Order. Like, I'm just feeling some Star Wars. I'm watching The Mandalorian. I was like, fuck yeah. And then, like, EA Play is eventually going to come
2021.
to Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, whenever. So I was like, nah, just wait till then.
They made yeah, exactly. That's a lot of what I'm doing. Like, I want to play the new Yakuza game, but I heard that it comes out in a year on Game Pass. And I'm like, guess I'll play it in a year. I know, but I'm determined to not pay money for something I'm just going to have on Game Pass anyway. So
I love your determination. Honestly.
Thank you.
The whole Epic Game Store not buying shit, I'm just not going to play until it comes to Game Pass thing. Serious kudos to you. You're fantastic.
Thank you. It's what I do, man. I gotta stick to my craft, which is
I appreciate it.
Not paying for anything. So Call of the Sea, let's talk about it. It is let me just read the actual description because I hate always trying to set the premise for these. But Call of the Sea is an otherworldly tale of mystery and love set in the 1930s South Pacific. It's basically a puzzle game that you are in the first-person perspective of a woman who is trying to find their loved one. And her loved one is basically this person who is traveling to a specific island because you started to get this strange skin condition. And so you're looking for your husband, Harry is his name, and she's trying to find him and trying to kind of connect the dots because she's like a couple steps behind him, and traveling to this island, learning about the different studies and things that he was doing on that island. And it's like I won't go too much into the story because I think it's worth it if you just play it and experience it, because I don't want to give it up. But there's a lot of like other worldly things to it. It's very like Cthulhu-esque.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems very like Lovecraftian.
Yeah, it's super Lovecraftian, and I actually really liked it because I had heard inklings of it before I dived into it, but I didn't really know. So I was like, what is happening when the first couple of things happen as far as like. Very Lovecraftian like tropes, but it's a really good game. Honestly, it's not anything like a crazy action game or something that I usually stick to, but it's a good puzzle game. It's a good exploration game. It's one of those types where you're given these. It's all done in chapters, so you're given like a finite space. And it'll be like a portion of the island and a couple of different little areas that you can go up into, a couple of camp tents, and you'll be able to go into each one of them. You'll see objects scattered throughout the island. You'll be able to click on them and either read notes or listen to dialogue from different like tapes and things like that. And so you have to piece together these interesting clues to get things around the island to work. So it'll be something like... there's certain tiki faces and you have to move them in a certain position based on going back and forth through an area and learning what order they need to be in and how they need to be configured, things like that. A lot of the puzzles are you look at it once and you're like, well, what the hell do I do with this? And then you go to another place and you're like, oh, okay. And then you come back and you try it and you're like, this doesn't make sense. And so you like go to another place and then you're like, oh, wait, okay, now I get it. And then you come back and you're like, all right. And then you like mess with it and you learn, you like figure it out. So I really like that because it's a very like, oh, okay, now I get it type of puzzle game, which is, I mentioned that on Twitter when I first started playing the game, but it continues that process where I was like, I wonder how difficult this is going to get. Right now I'm in chapter 4. I believe there's 6 chapters. So I've been playing a good couple hours of it. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I think that the story is relatively well. I don't know how it ends, so maybe it sucks at the end. But like what I've gotten so far is interesting. And the puzzles are actually pretty challenging. I wouldn't say they're the hardest in the world, but it is, like I said, those things where you have to really kind of like look around. I think my only real gripes with the game are probably very small tweaks that I think would just have a quality of life impact. There's like notes that you pick up and you look at them and they're like these very like cursive written, very scribbled notes. And you're like, you look at it and you're like, how would I fucking read that? And so every time you pick up a note, you have to click this button that says read so that it shows you in plain text. And I'm like, why don't you just default that? Who's reading these notes?
It just doesn't look cool, dude.
It just does. Yeah, I guess so. But I'm like, I wish maybe there's an option and I haven't found it. I hope there is, because like I keep seeing it and like every time I have to be like, oh, okay, I got to click the read button as well every time I pick up a note. But
I've always kind of appreciated that though, because they have that very similar feature in like the Elder Scrolls games where like you could read it if you wanted to, just standard, but you can click the read button to make it a bit easier for you.
But man,
you're
like
a little dum-dum like
if
me.
you look at those notes, dude, there's some of them are they're like people are like scratching words out and like it's all like written like in tiny text. I'm like, no one can see that. Just put the defaulted text up next to it. Like, what are you doing? I don't want to press the read button every time I look at a damn note.
Yeah, it definitely seems like an aesthetic choice.
Yeah, exactly. Which I get it. And like that's, if that's the only couple of things that I'm like bitching about, like it's a pretty good game, right? It's just there's certain accessibility things that I think they could have done that would have made it a little bit better. But like the world around, like the island is super pretty. And then you get to other places where it's like super dark and creepy looking. Like I love the world. I don't know. It's definitely a good game. I would recommend it. I think some people would probably like this goes into that same, argument of like, it's not that long of a game, because if it's only 6 chapters and I've only played a couple hours and gotten to chapter 4, I can't imagine this being longer than like a 5-6 hour game. But I mean, it's a relatively well designed game. So like if that's your jam, go for it. Plus it's on Game Pass. So you really can't bitch if you got Game Pass.
Yeah, everyone should have Game Pass, by the way. It's so fucking good. Like I said
bet.
last week, I told my one friend, he got like 6 other friends to do it. It's just such a good deal. Once again, I'm gonna quote Active Josh twice now. One thing I've heard him say that I think is really, really funny. He says like it's good jelly, but it's not my jam, and I just think that's the cutest fucking thing I've ever heard anybody say.
That is really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. And
I want to use that all the time now.
It's so good, dude. I was like,
I wonder if he made that up. If he made that up, he's a motherfucking genius.
He's smartest person alive if he did.
Hell yeah, dude. Einstein, get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, you just got booted. Fucking Isaac Newton, nobody gives a shit about
Nobody
you. It's
cares.
Fucking good jelly, not my jam day. But no, yeah, I heard him say that once. I was like, that's so good. And then also to just steal his his catchphrase, his mantra, Xbox Game Pass. It's the best deal in gaming right there, big boy. So
I mean, it really is though. It's nuts, dude. There's games coming out every day. But this isn't an ad for Game Pass.
Yet. It is not an ad for Game Pass. Before you go on to your second game, I realize I need to do our housekeeping. So
this guy,
of course, please, because I totally forgot about it. Please listen to our developer interview that will go live the day after this goes live for patrons and the 2 days before it goes live for plebes. Over
the plebes.
Please listen to it. This week we've got Sora and Jonas of Moonlit Monitors. Their game is Germinal. I don't know what it is, honestly.
Oh, you don't? Oh, it's really cool.
I have
actually.
No idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's basically a think of Celeste, but also Super Mario Sunshine. So it's like Celeste, but instead of only just jumping and double dashing and stuff like that, you get this jetpack that's like a kind of like a Mucinex jetpack. So there's a bunch of like virus on the floor, and you could use your jetpack and like clean it up as you're like spraying over so that you can land down on certain areas.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I played the demo of it on stream a while back. I really enjoyed it, and the people were super nice, the developers, and I definitely would recommend checking it out if anyone is a fan of like platforming games.
And I believe it's over on itch.io, correct?
Yeah, so that's only a demo right now. So it's like it's the I don't remember if they were calling it a demo or calling it an alpha, but it's a small chunk. It's like one couple of levels and setting the stage for the actual game itself. The main premise behind the game, kind of ironic or coincidental. I don't know which way you want to phrase it, but basically they created a game that's about kind of like pandemics and like people having these giant outbreaks and being quarantined and things like that. They started working on it before this all happened. Maybe they're the reason this happened. But so it kind of, they were like, I thought the interview was really cool because they talked about the hardship of thinking like, should we even continue working on this game because it might be taken with like a sour note. Because we're already in this, right? Why would we want to play this kind of thing? But they ended up continuing with it, and I think it's for the better because it's, I mean, even if you don't give a shit about like the theme behind it, the game is fun. So
yeah, I mean, I'm glad they did. I mean, we talked about like way at the beginning of 2020, we talked about the surge in Plague Inc. activity, like people buying that game.
Yeah.
It was also also for sadly a different reason because they didn't like they were trying to understand how pandemics worked and nobody knew how the coronavirus actually spread and shit like that. So it's for a completely different reason. But I liked that. And then you also did the developer interview about basically like quarantine, and I thought that was really cool. So I really enjoy the kind of like look into the coronavirus and how exactly that's like impacting people, and that people aren't shying from doing something similar to it. Like you'd think that a lot of developers would be like, nah, similar to what you just said, where you were like, yeah, they thought about canceling it, and I'm glad they didn't, because it's like, if you were gonna make a game, just make it. Honestly, it might even resonate with people more now.
That's
like they'll be like, fuck the virus, kill the
virus. So that's kind of and that was briefly mentioned in like the interview around the game where you were stuck inside your house and trying to escape almost, but it's a weird slice of history, right? Is that, you know, one day we're going to hopefully be past this. And then I think it could be even more appreciated, but like for now, like I think it still needs to be said, right? Like it's a piece of our history. It's something that happened. It's something that should be remembered, is like these are documentations into like the world at that time. And Germinal isn't as much that as the previous game was, but it's still something that can be on your mind of like, oh, I don't know if I really want to push this because there might be negative reception to it. But I'm glad they did. Like I said, I think it's worth a listen. Yeah. Good stuff.
So please listen to the developer interview, the Moonlit Monitors developer interview that's going to go live, of course, once again, one day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. That is Sora and Jonas. Seems like a cool interview. I'm excited to listen to it. Please check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for our t-shirts and our stickers. Soon to be more merch. We just have to, we got to make that channel before we pay an artist to make some cool stuff.
Yeah.
We've got to give a shout out to our YouTube channel. It's IndiePod. That's where you can watch this live. And you can also soon check out my Unto the End review I will be posting there. I'm excited to review it. I'm excited to finally, I just got through my first semester back in college. It just ended literally last night as of recording this.
Did you fail everything?
No, No, I got A's in most of my classes.
Oh, look at this smart boy.
What's kind of funny is the only class I didn't get an A in is my audio production class.
Wow. And that's why our audio sucks so much. You heard it here, folks.
Exactly. No, it was honestly it was just the way the class was done. It was really weird. It didn't have any due dates and shit. It was really odd. So, yeah, but I still passed it. I still got a 75. Because I just didn't do several projects. I was like, I'm not going to make a song, dude. I'm not going to do that. I did make a commercial about hentai, though.
You should have got me in there. I'd do a song with you.
That'd be dope.
We could have made a little Cram Time jam.
Yeah, true.
You dummy.
Except it had to be 3 minutes. That'd be way too much.
Well.
Feel we just insert it. It'd be fine. Everybody would enjoy it. It's a nice little musical break.
Exactly. Tension. A little 3-minute break. That way they can get up and can pee, get some snacks.
Yeah.
I don't know why they gotta leave. I guess I'm thinking of them sitting at a computer. They're probably just listening to it on
it's fine.
Headphones and whatnot. But it's fine. Take a pee. It'll be fine.
So please leave us reviews on basically any platform. I guess comment on our YouTube videos. Tell us if you enjoy them. Leave us likes, dislikes, and all that fun stuff. Please don't leave us dislikes. And lastly, our just a shout out to our amazing patrons. Will C, Mixamatosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw from Australia, fucking the Wombat Emperor. He has told me he's actually the Emperor of Australia. He's not the king.
Mm-hmm.
I demoted him essentially. He's like, nah, boy, I'm fucking emperor. You gotta remember that. So he's the Wombat Emperor of Australia. That Philip Renshaw. We've got Chris Penwell, Josh Nichols, active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you so much, all of you, for being patrons. You're amazing. And Josh, you once again are talking. You're gonna talk about how you've been playing Grindstone by Capybara Games, now that I remembered to do housekeeping.
Now that you remembered to do housekeeping. All right. So, this is actually one of our listener questions as well. So Active Josh specifically reached out because both him and I at the same time picked up Grindstone because it just recently came out for the Switch. Now, before this, there was no real way to get Grindstone unless you had a Apple product, so a phone or a MacBook or whatever the fuck Apple sells.
Yeah, it was on Apple Arcade.
Yeah, it was on Apple Arcade, and you could get it there, which was great, but I don't have any Apple products. And Grindstone is something that I've heard a lot of people enjoy, and I've wanted to try out for a long time, but I don't have any Apple products. So it just came to the Switch, which is super great. And it's actually funny, I said something on Twitter, and I was like, so Twitter peoples, help me. Should I get Grindstone? And no one said anything, which, whatever, fuck it. I don't have a lot of followers anyway, so I don't care. But the only one person who said it eventually, the day later, was someone from the actual development team for this game. And was like, yes. And I was like, well, you seem biased, but all right.
You're like, you swayed me. There's a good argument there.
Which I thought was hilarious. But I ended up getting it anyway because I was like, all right, I'll just do it. Because I really wanted to try it. And so Grindstone, now that I've ranted for a minute, even though I haven't said anything about the game, is essentially a puzzle game where very similar to something like a Candy Crush, right? You gotta match different colored objects in an order. But the way this works is they're literally these little like enemies, these like creatures, and you're this like hell-bent destructor who's trying to get money and trying to kill creeps for some reason. I don't really know. The story's kind of weird. It's just you're this guy who's just killing people because it makes you money. It makes you grindstones. And the way it works is instead of moving the objects, what happens is you're given a screen with a number of creeps, all different colors, all different types. And you're placed somewhere on the map and then have to create a line by like saying, I want to go to this one, this one, this one, this one. It has to be a consecutive line of the same colored enemy. And you can keep killing those enemies in whatever order as long as they're like right next to each other. And you have to make these long lines of them. And then once you've done that, you have other things that will let you like chain different creatures together. You get all of these enemies that are trying to attack you, so you can't land on specific areas. You have to break down boxes or break down different objects based on having a chain at a certain like number, a high enough number. But that all comes into perspective. But basically, it's a very fun puzzle game. I think it's something where from Active Josh, he was going crazy about it on Twitter and said like he really loves it. I don't think I'm feeling the same like as him, like as ecstatic about it. I do really like it, but I think it's a really good game, especially for the Switch. I think it's a really good game, which I guess it would be good for Apple Arcade because it would be like on your phone, where I play like 2 to 4 levels and I'm like, cool, that was fun. And then I put it down. And then like I'll come back to it the next day, but I'm really enjoying it. And it's as I keep playing, it's getting more and more complicated, and they're adding different items, different equipment that you could wear. You have bosses at the end of each world, which are very interesting. So they keep it unique by constantly in each world adding a new element, whether that be a different type of monster, whether that be a different type of resource, or, things that you can craft for. And then it also has these challenges where even in these levels that you're playing, just at any time, you can try to get a certain like achievement type of thing. It'll be like, get a combo that's 30, or get a chain command that you kill someone with a key and then unlock a chest all within the same turn. Like little things like that where you're trying something out in a level or trying to do something so it keeps you engaged in different ways as well. And then there's also like daily grinds where they're like these just daily challenges to also keep you invested if you don't want to just go through the story. So there's a lot to this game. I love the art style to it as well. The way you kill the creeps is so animated. Your guy is so blood hungry, which is kind of weird, but it's like there's the animation to it is so super cute. And there's so many like little details that I really love. There's these people with crowns that you have to kill, and you get their crowns, and you're doing that because at the end of like a world, you have to have enough crowns to spend so that you can go to the next area. And so these crown people, they look so like timid, and they're just like, oh, don't kill me. And at the end, after you kill them of a level, there's a screen that shows up that lets you beat them up by clicking the A button repeatedly, and it like smacks them until they die, and then you take their crown. But recently, I always just kept beating them up. But recently, I noticed there was a skip button, and it's quicker to just skip it. And if you skip it, instead a bunch of hearts fly out of the screen, and a kiss, like a shows up, and then the guy disappears and gives you his crown. And I was like, that's so cute. I didn't even know that. Like I was just beating him up. I didn't have to kill him every time.
Yeah. For like hours, you're just sitting there beating the shit out of these cute little creatures. You're just like, die! And they're like, nah, I mean, you could just not be a dick. That'd be cool.
I mean, you definitely kill him when you're playing in the level, but you just don't have to beat him up again. But no, I'm really enjoying it. I think there's a lot to love with this game. I think, like I said, for me, I think it's more of just like puzzle fatigue. Like this is a lot, both these games are very puzzly, so maybe it's just that. But like, I can't play too many levels of this game, but it's a really good, like, just pick up, put down, kind of play a couple levels, and then be like, awesome, and then just go on with my day. Like, I'm really enjoying it. I think people would like it. This one is not a Game Pass game. You have to buy this one, unfortunately, but still recommend it.
How much was it on the Nintendo Switch?
So on the Nintendo Switch, it's $20, but right now, and I don't know how long this will last for. Let me see if it says. Yeah, it doesn't say here, but it's right now. It's I think it's 25% off. It's $15 instead of 20, if
That's
my
cool.
math is correct.
I mean, also, just an added bit, if you do have an Apple device and you'd like to play some games, of course, you may not know about Apple Arcade. I don't know how you wouldn't, but you can play Grindstone on Apple Arcade if you currently have it. Similar to Xbox Game Pass, is a pretty good deal in gaming if you like gaming on the mobile devices.
Very
But
true.
Grindstone always looked really cool. I like the art style. I think it's kind of cool and cute, and the guy has gigantic nipples for some reason. I find that really weird.
Nothing wrong with pepperoni nipples.
Yeah, it's like 90% of his body is just nipple. It's like areola. It's weird. So
It happens.
so whatever.
You know.
It's cool. Not judging him. I mean, I got big nipples, so it's it's fine.
Same person.
But I think the game looks cool. I'm not like a huge puzzle person. I'm not going to like go and pick up Grindstone or anything, but I'm very glad that you enjoy it.
Yeah. It is very fun.
I hope Active Josh got his fill of listening to you talk about Grindstone, because now it is my turn to I'm basically just going to talk a little bit more about Unto the End, because I am going to be doing a full review for it. It'll be much more clear and succinct, but
Oh, where are we going with this, buddy?
Okay, so I beat it. I beat the game last week.
I'm so proud of you. Can we just take a second to congratulate you
games.
for beating a game?
Well, I beat a couple. I beat Chronos, and I've almost beat it twice.
And you know what he's doing all the time. It's just this Chronos
I know.
game.
Dude, I play some Spiritfarer, okay? It's just not fun.
Oh, jeez. Are we ever gonna make it to that?
No, well, it's like a 40-hour game. It's outrageous. I realized, I think my main problem, of course, with Spiritfarer was I just wasn't giving it enough chance to like kind of sink me into the world. So I didn't go podcast this time. I've sat down a couple more times and I've been playing it, and just been kind of like really concentrating on the music and letting it kind of get me into it. I still don't think it's a game for me. Like it's really chill, and I think that's really awesome. And Errol might be right. Like maybe I just don't like really chill games. Like maybe. I loved A Short Hike, which was super chill, but maybe I'm just not that big of a fan of super chill games. I have no idea. But
it's all good.
Having played it more, I was like, oh, here we go. Fucking it applies again. Good jelly, not my jam, bro.
Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah, dude. Active Josh, genius. He's just
man.
A genius. But Unto the End, another game that you can play on Game Pass. Please listen to the review that I'll probably put up maybe the week that this goes live, I think, over on YouTube. But
is that going to be a nice Christmas release?
Very possible, yeah. Very possible. It might be on Christmas.
I
mean, this episode will go live on Christmas.
Yeah, that's our Christmas gift to the audience.
This is a Christmas episode, dude.
Hell
What if? I just ruined Christmas for everyone and just don't put this up on Christmas.
You are a damn Grinch, so.
But
was the Grinch.
So playing Unto the End, I finished it. It probably is about like me being bad at games, probably like 2.5 hours or so. I enjoy a lot of the experience.
Oh, hold up. I'm sorry. Did you say you finished it in 2.5 hours?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, maybe I should try this out because I got to see if you're just bad at games. I want to do the comparison.
You can beat it in like an hour.
No. I'm saying like because I know that you're kind of like, your complaints on it. Like, I want to see if I have the same issues with it. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being rude.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, I would recommend playing it. I mean, it's a very short game. Like, everybody should pick it up, see if they enjoy it. I feel like it's also going to be like kind of a good jelly, not my jam kind of a deal. But
Yep.
So playing through, one of my major things that I was looking forward to was having a real reason to play the game, like feeling a kinship with my family and wanting to get back to them. And the game is so ambiguous, and it almost feels like you don't, like, I honestly, playing through the game, I if I did not know that this was a game about getting back to your family, I would not understand what the fuck you're doing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, there aren't spoken words, really, or they're in a different dialect that you can't understand. So it's a lot of kind of like just gestures and you trying to figure shit out on your own. But playing it on your own, I don't see in any way until you get to the end of the game how this would be, how you would get that you're trying to get home to your family. They rarely is it brought up. I don't even know why you left home at this point. Like, that's one of my major issues with it is that, like I said, I'm watching The Mandalorian, and it's really great at tying these characters together and showing that there is kind of like a familial bond between Mando and Baby Yoda, kind of a thing. And in this, I'm just like, what am I doing and why do I care, kind of a deal. Like, I understand that you want to get home, and I understand that there are like emotions associated with that, but I don't know why you left. There's not a huge payoff in the end. Like, it just kind of just got to a point where I was like, okay. Like, when I finished the game, I didn't feel cheated. I just didn't feel anything. I was like, okay, I'm done with the game.
Wow.
Like, it was kind of like a meh ending. And also, I had another point in the game where I got stuck because it just didn't tell me how to get through something. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was because I had to use a mechanic that I literally had never had to use in the game. Until the end of it. And I was like, it had always been there.
Until the end of it?
Yeah, until the end of it. But it had always been there. It was like a shoulder bash, and I could always use it in combat if I wanted to, but it was never required to actually get through anything, like platforming-wise. Never required. Until this exact moment. And I was like, the fuck? Why would you do that?
Yeah, that seems a little tough.
But yeah, I ended up like, I finished the game, got through it, and I'm excited to review it. But I would say, hey, if you've got the time, you got like an hour and a half, play it, see if you enjoy it. It's all about like mastery of combat. Supposedly, I honestly feel like most of the time I got out of battles out of luck, not necessarily out of like mastery of combat, which was kind of interesting, but that's probably going to be one of my main things in the review. But please listen to the review when it comes out. I don't want to talk too much more about it. Check it out if you have Xbox Game Pass PC. It might also be on the console version. It's very short. You can get through it. I don't know if it actually is on the console version. I think it's probably just on PC.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of weird how there's that different delineation. The only way that I know is those Twitter posts where they show it, and then after that I'm like, I'll never remember this. Plus, if it's not on PC, I don't really care too much. So
if it's not on consoles,
well, no, if it's not on PC, I don't care, because if it's on consoles only, I'm gonna look at it and be like, oh no, I can't play this. Damn.
I get you. Okay, cool.
Gotta get a Series S.
Now it's time to move to our main news stories for today, since we got through what we're playing. Our first news story is over on IGN. It is written by, I've got to scroll to the top because I was scrolling too slowly, Jordan Oloman. And this is kind of an interesting one. So we have actually followed a similar story to this basically since it originally happened. We had talked about Devotion. Of course, this is delisted horror game Devotion added to GOG. Then GOG decided not to release it. So we talked about this initially when it first got delisted from all storefronts because of this joke that they had where they basically just referred to Xi Jinping as like an idiot, the like president of China or whatever, like the dictator essentially of China. I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just that's the only way I kind of understand his relationship to
I don't know.
that government. I might be completely wrong. If I am wrong, somebody tell me, please. But
that's fine.
The consensus seems to be that he's a dictator, and he does not like being
compared
made
to Winnie
a
the
fool
Pooh
of, or being compared to I literally, so there's like the IGN video of this, and it stopped, and it's like the things you could watch next: Devotion review, or there's like a Winnie the Pooh thing.
Yeah, the one where he's like this.
Yeah,
that's
awesome. It also, it's like why is 9.8 rated horror game was pulled from Steam. So yeah, it's just kind of more Devotion stuff. But so to get into the actual news of this story has been updated twice, so I'm going to try to take you through the entire thing because this all happened like kind of over a week. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, cult horror game Devotion will be re-released on PC. Once again, this didn't happen. This is old news, but I'm just going through it so everyone has context to what's happening. Will be re-released on PC later this month via GOG distribution platform after being delisted in February of 2019. Developer Red Candle Games revealed the news on Twitter. The Twitter notes that all of the game's content will remain the same, as will the price. Devotion will cost $16.99 or €13.99, I believe. I'm not exactly sure, pounds, whatever that currency symbol is, when it launches on December 18th on GOG. It's suggested that the game may have been originally delisted in February 2019 due to the controversy surrounding the inclusion of a poster that contained the phrase Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh moron. That was essentially the controversy right there. Not a big fan of being called an idiot. Not a big fan of the Winnie the Pooh comparison, even though it's hilarious. It's real funny. I think he just doesn't understand. If you start to be part of the joke, it's no longer like people no longer do it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it goes
feel so much better.
The whole if we're right on that, the whole dictator thing, because doesn't fly the same way.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Definitely true. But the first update on this was GOG has now said it will not list Devotion after receiving many messages from gamers. This is in quote. This is exactly what they said. They said in a Twitter post earlier today, it was announced that the game Devotion is coming to GOG. After receiving many messages from gamers, we have decided not to list the game in our store. It goes on to basically say that this has been like pretty controversial in gaming just in general. We have I guess we'll talk about that in just a second, but we have a listener question wrote in about this, but we'll just kind of talk about it afterwards. This, if you go on to this tweet, basically like there are thousands of replies, I'm fairly certain, and they all roughly say like, seemingly there are a lot of gamers. Yeah, there's 10,000 or 10.6K responses to this of people basically just saying like, hey, you're literally like right now getting 10.6 thousand messages about how you should have listed this fucking game, and they're just like,
the gamers, they've messaged us.
They're turning around. They've decided to take a 180 and they now decide they want the game. And I love all the people who are like, show us the messages. Like, basically the big controversy is that people believe that they chose to delist this game because of sales in China. Like they want to be able to actually do business in China, and they believe that they will not be able to do so if they list this game. That is what people believe to be. I'm not saying that's a fact. That is an opinion. They have yet to actually give any sort of confirmation as to why they did this. Currently, all we know is gamers were like, nah, boy, we don't want that game that makes fun of the Chinese president. And it's like, nah, dude.
Great
weird,
nerdy accent.
Yeah, right?
I mean, technically, if you wanna look at the way this is written, technically, they didn't say one way or the other. They said, we've decided to change it after many messages. many gamers have messaged us, which could mean that many of them, which they did, have messaged them, why are you not releasing this? Like, they knew it was coming, so they just wrote it in this very, like...
That's a good point.
Very hands-up approach where they're like, they messaged us, and we've decided to say fuck them.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're fence-sitting in a sense. They're like, we technically didn't lie.
Nope.
But
they did not.
We may not have told the truth.
The way this is written is straight up PR talk. Like, 100%, they did not take a side, and you could look at it the way I said it, and they're just like, we've decided. That's it.
100%. And honestly, the thing that's the craziest thing about this is, so Red Candle Games, the developers of this game, then went and did a press release that basically said, hi, we are Red Candle Games. Earlier, GOG has announced on Twitter, on its official Twitters, After receiving many, okay, yeah, I'm not going to read that. Though regretful, we are willing to understand and respect GOG's decision. For the players looking forward to Devotion's re-release, please accept our most sincere apology. It is a difficult predicament to overcome, but we won't stop striving. And honestly, they're taking that far better than I thought. Like,
I mean, what are you gonna do? Like,
yeah, they can't exactly, like, even if they got pissed off about it, it probably won't change the situation.
They can't have a tantrum on the internet because it's not gonna do them any good. But it really does suck because they probably want to have a tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, if 10K people like responding to this being like, you're literally just buckling to a dictator, like, and what so are you doing? If that didn't change it, what would them being like, this is fucked up, dude?
It's really tough, man, because I feel for Red Candle. I mean, I think that shouldn't have been in the game in the first place, and there's kind of repercussions, but honestly, like, I guess it's just us, because looking at it, we're like, who fucking cares? Like, but obviously that's a bigger deal in China, and he doesn't take kindly to that type of insult. But that being said, like, I feel bad because they really can't do anything. Like, they created this game, they spent so long on it, and because of one tiny part that's in the game, which, like, I remember it was like, it's not easy to find either. Like, it's like not,
an Easter egg.
Yeah, it's not blatantly. It's
not just like you fucking boot up the game and it's like, fuck
you, Winnie the Pooh, motherfucker. No, it's like hidden off somewhere. Like, it sucks because it's probably like one person put it in as a joke, and because of that, their entire studio is probably like in deep water right now. Like, they cannot release a game or get any revenue off of something that they spent so long on.
Yeah,
it's tough. And but like, and it really sucks because I understand from a business practice like why a higher company would be like, no, I guess not, because like, yeah, you could say like you're going about the whims of this dictator or this individual with higher power, but it's like, from a business perspective, if you block off all of China because of one game, like, if you make those type of decisions all the time, you're gonna have no one eventually. Like, these type of things come up, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, the craziest thing is that I honestly believe that there is a solution to this, and it would actually be like a pretty good PR move. So follow me on this.
All right.
So everyone shits on the Epic Game Store because they believe they have some sort of ties to China, that they're selling your data basically to China, even though they've multiple times said they had not, and they do not.
Yep.
I think it would be pretty amazing if they just listed this fucking game. Like, if they were like, hey, we'll do it. Like, we're not afraid of it, kind of a deal. Like, they've essentially put on this mask of like, we're trying to do what's right for developers, with the whole like, the only reason they have it is because of Steam's poor shares, and once they change it, they will stop doing Epic exclusivity and stuff like that. So I think, one, people will buy this game if they list it on their store. Like, people are excited about this. And two, I think it would kind of help with what would be an image problem for Epic Game Store, where a lot of people believe that they're selling their data and they're like buckling to China, and that Tencent kind of rules them from the shadows in some sort of weird way or some bullshit like that. So
right.
I think honestly that would be the best way to solve all of these problems, because I don't like, do you think it's possible that any other storefront would actually list this game at this point? Like, GOG was probably, I would say GOG and the Epic Game Store are probably the best options that they have. Because I don't know otherwise. I mean, It was already delisted from Steam, so they've already been like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Like, we can't do anything else about it.
Yeah, I really, I don't know. Because I like what you're saying with Epic, but I really don't think that would ever happen. I don't think Epic would be able to make that move. Although it does have, like, I hear you on it. It makes some sense, but I feel like there could be backlash that we're not thinking of from a China market that would really like
easily
really hurt them in the end, and might not be worth it to appeal to a different audience, to crush their current base. But I really can't see anywhere else that it would make sense other than just a fuck, I don't even know, because GOG isn't even like, it's all DRM free. It's just the game.
I wonder if they could release it on like itch.io. I guess this is kind of me not understanding how the storefront works, but I mean, on itch you get to like kind of name your own price, and it's like, I think it would be better for you to take less money than to just not get money in general. But I also don't know if they've tried to release on itch and they just can't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could, but honestly, like even with it, like I don't think the idea is that they're making money off of it is why this is an issue. Like this is an issue because a person of very high power is very upset with it, and so China is basically after you. So it doesn't matter if they're making money off of it or not. So like that part, I don't think plays a difference in it. I think it's just going to be the same thing as GOG. Like really, it's just they don't want it anywhere accessible is the problem. And so I don't know that other than like a black market-ish type way that this is going to be reasonably a thing. Unless some type of peace offering is made. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how you talk to...
I think they already removed it from the game. I'm fairly certain that we read a news story like way back when that they removed it.
And that's
the thing. It's just...
And that's the thing. That's why like I don't think this is coming back, which sucks. But like I think this is just a grudge now at this point. I don't think this is like them just not wanting to back down of taking that one line out, which I'm pretty sure I do recall them taking it out in a previous article we talked about like months ago. So this is just them being like, we don't want to take the risk of putting this up based on the Chinese market.
Yeah, which is okay. So let's get into Chris Penwell's question now. He writes in and says, do you think CD Projekt Red will be trusted by the public ever again after Cyberpunk 2077's bugs and the controversial removal of Devotion that criticized the Chinese president? So if you don't know, CD Projekt Red is actually, I believe, the like owner and operator of GOG.com.
So it seems like.
I believe so. So that's kind of why that's tied in. So Josh, what do you think about this? Knowing that, like, I guess for people who don't know, because if you just mainly play indie games and you don't know about Cyberpunk 2077, which I would be surprised, but
I would be
just a little bit of background. They essentially released it and they did their initial like coverage. They wouldn't allow people to actually record, like for their original reviews, the people they sent it to could only get access on PC. They could not play it on consoles, and they could not record their own video. They had to use stock footage. Mm-hmm. Basically, like what people think is to cover up the horrendous state that this was in, especially because of the not releasing on consoles. Because sadly, it's completely broken on Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and on PlayStation 4. From what I understand, there are so many bugs that it honestly, like, it seemingly makes it unplayable. I've seen so many videos of, like, people, like, did you see that one video of somebody trying to jump through a window that they broke, and they, like, jumped, and it just slingshotted them across the map?
No, that's hilarious, though.
Yeah. There's, like, so many weird bugs in it. Like, Chris Penwell showed me one of the pictures that he got, and it's, like, his character is like sitting here trying to get dialogue, and he looks over and like the person's just like fucking horizontal in the air, like giving exposition. And it's just the funniest shit. But they essentially released this in a broken fashion and then said that they were not going to give refunds. Mm-hmm. And Sony and Microsoft were both like, fuck you. And they offered refunds on the game. They're like, no, we'll offer all refunds. Like on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and I believe now CD Projekt Red has been like, okay, we'll accept refunds. We will give you refunds for this. They essentially, like, from what I understand, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, I don't know the entire thing, but they essentially said that they had record high pre-orders, and they didn't want to delay their game in order to fix it, so they just released it. Yep. Knowing that it was broken, and tried to kind of cover it up by not allowing people to talk about it on consoles. Did you see that IGN gave it a 4 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One?
Yep.
Yeah, they gave it like a 10 on PC and a 4.
Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong I think it's great that they did that. Yeah. Yeah. I think it kind of sucks. Like it is one of those things where, you know, they can fix this and then it's not a 4 then, right? But they can also change their review when it's fixed. So I've heard different stories as far as how broken it really is. I've heard for the previous consoles, it's a clear like this is not ready. I've heard other people for like their PS5s or their Xbox Series X that it's not like completely busted. It's still not as great. Kind of a thing.
It just seems like kind of a downgrade. Like I've seen pictures and it looks kind of like hazy. It just doesn't look to be what they kind of like marketed as being, as this like really polished, amazing thing. And then on PC, it just looks great.
It looks great. Yeah. I mean,
but that's kind of like the
better,
standard
right?
for,
you know what I mean?
That's the standard for games that are released on PC, is typically that you can just like fucking, as long as you have a good enough machine, you can make it look as amazing as you want it to.
Right. Yeah, I think it's upsetting. But to go back to the question, right? CD Projekt Red is kind of in a lot of like trouble with this. Their shares,
which is so crazy because they initially were so high. They were riding a high because of The Witcher 3.
I mean, but that's kind of the thing about business. Like, no company is ever safe. Like, you're gonna take dives, you're gonna crash, you're gonna go back. You know, it's a wave. You have to ride the waves. I don't think CD Projekt Red is going to be out for the count. Like, this isn't something where this is just gonna break them. But I think they're gonna get hit really hard, and I think this is going to be one of those things where these things happen in business, and when it does, they either see it as a potential opportunity to fix their problems and they make changes and they find a way to resolve them, or they crash and burn. And I think CD Projekt Red has, a choice. Obviously, it's not as clear as that. Obviously, there's a lot more work that goes into it. And I think that for a while they're going to be in a shitty situation, but like, it's one of those things where we could talk about No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
They had a terrible launch. They made it back. Like, there's still time. It's not like you have that one shot. I will say they probably saltied their name to a lot of people who won't give them a shot, just like with No Man's Sky, even though now it's a good game. And that is troublesome for like their future, but I don't think it means that they can't succeed in other ways. Like, there's still a group of people who are happy with the game, who really enjoy it, especially for the people like on PC. There's still, a lot of great praise coming to it. It's just they have bad practices inside their studio that are holding them back. Bad practices depending on how you want to look at it. I think it's obviously a subjective opinion, but in my opinion, bad. It'll either be that, management changes something. Maybe they change management. Maybe different people come into place, because I think it does suck. And I think it really sucks for nobody other than the developers. Like, the most is like the people who are creating these games and the people who are running a lot on like behind the scenes are really getting shot in the face for stuff that's not their fault. And it sucks.
Because I doubt it was their decision to release it on like these consoles, knowing that it was broken. They weren't just like, I need the chunk of change, bro. Yeah. Like, let's get this done, kind of a thing. Like, I understand that they get bonuses, but I still doubt that they were like super chill about it. Like, I mean, I guess that's kind of like, I believe I've seen articles basically that have said that, but also I guess it's kind of us like assuming that they're good people, which I would like to.
I mean, maybe there are some shitty people in there. Like, I don't know, but like, granted, it's not all of them, and they're not all making that decision. Like, it's clearly there's decisions that are approved and made up at the top that probably should not have. This probably should have been a PC only release, and then they wait later for consoles. They probably shouldn't have even done the previous generations, or they should have done it in a way where they could have been optimized for it, since this originally wasn't even supposed to be released by the time next gen consoles came out, which is like crazy, because why did they, like, there was a time where this was supposed to come out at like the start of this year. Shit looks like trash on those consoles. Like, what the hell were they doing? What did they work on the PC version of it, and then they were like, oh, well, we got 3 months left, you want to do the port? Like, what the fuck? Like, come on now. That being said, maybe it's a bit harsh, but still, like, and I know we're kind of ranting on this question a lot, but the last thing I'll say is I think that'll have more of an impact on CD Projekt Red's future than this story will, as far as like the devotion thing, because honestly,
I don't think most people
people will know A, about devotion, B, that this even happened. Like,
Or that CD Projekt Red is even involved with GOG.
Involved at all, dude.
I think the standard gamer doesn't know anything about GOG for the most part. Like, that's not me coming at their intelligence. I just believe that there's a lot of people who play this for escapism and they don't give a shit about the industry.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're just like, yeah, I had no idea that CD Projekt Red owned a DRM-free service that you could purchase PC games on, and they refused to list this obscure game that happened to make fun of the Chinese president. Like, it's a lot of niche thing to know about.
it's a lot of minute details you need to know to make that assumption of like, I'm never gonna use them. So I don't think that's gonna make an impact. I think the I don't know why I almost said Spelunky. I think the Cyberpunk one will be the nail on the coffin, if at all. But I really think they'll come back. I think it'll just take time.
Yeah, I think they've got to, they've done the refunds, but I think they've got to, for the most part, fix the game on those previous consoles. They have to do updates. They can't just leave it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think honestly, after fixing it, there's still going to be people who they don't trust CD Projekt Red, and I think that's going to equal less straight up pre-orders for their next game. But ultimately, I think this is something that gets forgotten. I don't think it's something that people are really, really going to remember. But there are, of course, also going to be those holdouts, just like there are with No Man's Sky. I mean, the most interesting conversation about this, and we're going to move on in just a second, but is that PlayStation did not offer refunds for No Man's Sky when people were extremely they did not enjoy it, kind of a thing. I worked for GameStop at the time and I couldn't offer refunds. I was like, I'm sorry, you can trade it in. That's all I can do.
Yeah,
it's not really my deal. Sadly, I feel bad for a lot of retail workers, which sounds kind of weird, because there are going to be people who get yelled at for this game being a piece of shit, and they're like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it.
What are you going to do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sad. But moving on, our next news story, and this is more indie related, is over on GameSpot. I believe it's written by Chris Pereira. I don't know. This one is Nintendo Indie World biggest announcements from December 2020's Nintendo Direct. I kind of hate that everyone basically covered this as biggest announcements. They didn't cover this like they normally do, where they're like, this is everything in the Nintendo Indie World. Yeah. Instead, they were just like, here's the 4 things you should give a shit about. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Why would you do it this way? Literally everyone did. IGN, GameSpot. I could not, I shouldn't say literally everyone, because I imagine someone did. But I saw basically the exact same way this was covered in IGN, GameSpot, and I believe on possibly Twinfinite. But Twinfinite also broke it out into a bunch of really small news stories. They covered everything, but it was all disparate news stories. Right. So you had to click on them each individually. But I don't know, honestly, how much time will kind of actually be on this one. The biggest things are that
do you want to? Sorry, I'm all.
No, you're good.
All over you. I was gonna say, do you want to just do the ones that we're looking forward to, or some shit like that?
I would, but they're honestly however much
you're gonna be
enjoy,
I would, but I hate all of them.
No. What I was gonna say was I would, but however much I don't enjoy how this one was covered. This was actually a good way to cover it, which sounds kind of weird. I'm I wish it was the shittier way. This is a good way to cover it because sadly, this Indie Direct, it didn't actually include a whole lot of substance. The things they covered were substantial. So, pretty much Among Us came to Nintendo Switch. That's the big deal, is that it released the day of over on the Nintendo Switch. Spelunky and Spelunky 2 both coming to Nintendo Switch, I believe, next summer, which is a pretty big deal. Grindstone came to Nintendo Switch the day of. Super Meat Boy Forever also coming to the Nintendo Switch, as well as the Epic Games Store on
that's the
December
big
23rd
one. Not Among Us. It's Super Meat Boy Forever, so that I don't have to buy it on the EGS.
Yes, it is a console exclusive on the Nintendo Switch starting on December 23rd. And then we've got Cyber Shadow by, I believe it's either Mechanical Head or Machine Head. I always get it mixed up. I believe it's Mechanical Head Studios and published by Yacht Club Games. It is coming to the Nintendo Switch and I believe PC in January, but for some reason this actually isn't including this specific date, even though I believe it actually has one. I believe it's like at the end of January, but also announced amiibo functionality on the Nintendo Switch, which allowed functionality with all of the Yacht Club games, like specifically Shovel Knight amiibos. So like you get pixies for Shovel Knight, Plague Knight, King Knight, and Spectre Knight. Those would be the different things that they did, which is actually the same functionality that they offered for Treasure Trove, which is kind of cool, that you'd get like little pixies that will aid you. So what did you think about the Nintendo like indie showcase? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched a bunch of it and went through it at the high speed that I usually do afterwards, because I think I was at like work during this or something, or somewhere. I don't remember exactly.
It was like 9 a.m. It was early.
That might be why. I think out of all of these, I really like the ones that were mentioned, except for Among Us. I don't really care too much about, but that's just a personal preference, obviously. But I think another couple of cool ones were like Tunchi, which I know we have a news Cram mention about, which is very much a beat 'em up that kind of reminds me of Castle Crashers, which I'm all about. Plus, it's got Hat Girl from A Hat in Time in it for some random reason.
That was a cool inclusion. Like, initially when that game was announced, I believe at a different Nintendo Direct, like earlier this year or last year, they didn't say anything about that. But seeing it in that trailer, I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, which I think will be a good game, I'm hoping, anyway. And then there was one that was, like, super weird called, I think it was Happy Game, that was, like, just real weird.
Yeah, that, like, adventure game that's super dark and, like, horror-related, but with really bright colors and stuff.
Yeah, that one I'm into because I want to see more of. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of these games are actually really good though. Like I'm very excited for what was shown in it. But yeah, these, I mean, I just wish Nintendo would do like a full Nintendo Direct like they usually do. But I'm always glad that they're shouting out indies. Like it's always a good thing. But yeah, they're obviously a lower bar than what Nintendo Directs were. People keep talking about Nintendo Directs, but they haven't done one in like it almost feels like 2 years now.
People are, I honestly just think that's because fucking 2020 has seemed so long. They have done some in 2020, I'm fairly certain.
Well, no, they've done like these small mini direct ones where they're
that's
like,
a good point.
It's a Nintendo mini direct. Here's one game. And you're like, the fuck? Okay. And then they're like, all right, we'll be back next month. And you're like, why don't you just save this shit and just make a regular direct?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm like you. I'm glad that they're talking about indies. Like I'm glad they've really gone all out for the like indie world stuff. They had like on there, I believe another game they had was like Very Very Valet, and they had they had multiple indie games that I found really cool. A couple of them were like announcements, so I enjoyed that. But yeah, I can't say that there was like a lot of substance in this one.
Still good games. There's still good stuff. One thing I will say, everyone is talking about Calico. Like, I don't know how much money they're throwing.
About it again.
How much money they're throwing out for marketing, but they are on everything.
And it's so weird looking.
Yes.
Now that we're actually seeing more of it, I'm like, what is this game? Because, like, we're going to talk about it with the Wholesome Snack Direct as well, that they had Calico in there as well. But it was, like, kind of interesting. Honestly, I have to say, having watched both Wholesome Snack and Nintendo Direct, I enjoyed the Wholesome Snack more. I think they did a better job. I like that they have a specific host. I think she's really, like, interesting. And I just liked her more. I found her much more, I guess, like, much more entertaining than the two disparate narrator voices that
they always go back and forth. Yeah, I think part of that is a psychological thing of seeing the person it makes a difference, and you never see the Nintendo people, so you're just like these
which
random
I think
voices.
Is a bad idea. I think they need to just find somebody to be like the host of the Nintendo Directs.
Yeah, I mean they do have them. They just need to show their faces.
Yeah, it was weird, and also like the way that they interacted at times was just so weird and ham-fisted at times. Like they also had their audio, like she would make a cat pun, and then like I swear to God, a minute would go by, and then this bro was like, "Oh, that's another cat pun." You're like, "No fucking shit, it's another cat pun, bro. That was an obvious cat pun. What do you mean?" Like it was kind of weird. I didn't necessarily enjoy it. I think some of the stuff they showed was cool. I'm excited for Super Meat Boy Forever coming to the Nintendo Switch, even though if I play it, it's going to be on the Epic Game Store, so I don't care.
3 days.
I think like Toonchi was super cool. I'm glad that they showed it. I like thinking of other stones like Grindstone coming out was interesting. They're actually, I think for Super Meat Boy, was another thing that they had on GameSpot was that there's a Pro controller for Super Meat Boy Forever that they're releasing as well for like $60 for the Nintendo Switch, which looked kind of cool. But overall, I wasn't super blown away, but I guess I'm glad they're still doing it. Kind of like showing that brand is still moving, that they are still making moves. It's just like there's not a whole lot to talk about. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not blaming Wholesome Snack or the Nintendo Direct for not having a massive amount of substance, because 2020 just kind of sucks for everyone. Like it totally checks out.
Yep.
It's very similar to the reason why I felt like this year's Game Awards was kind of a letdown. But also I don't blame anyone for it. It was just kind of like, yeah, 2020 fucking sucks.
True story, bro.
Sucks for everybody. So our next news story is over on Nintendo Life. This is written by Kate Gray, and it is the Wholesome Snack Direct. Features a whole bunch of chill indies and lots of cats. It really does. Everybody's going all out with fucking cats.
They love cats.
It's crazy. So some of the games they covered was Calico. It got a release, or actually they were just talking about I guess this is kind of just talking about the game because it was released on December 15th.
Gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got Kitaria Fables. Super cool. I talked about this like a couple months ago when the developers or the publisher P-Cube sent us an email for it. I think Kitaria Fables looks really, really cool. Another cat game. It's kind of like a cat like action RPG, but with like seemingly like base building elements and a little bit of like resource gathering. Mm-hmm. Then they have like Here Comes Nico, which looks weird and cute and very interesting. I like the one dimension aesthetic to the characters, and how when she was in that ball, like it moved and she just like kind of folded over. It was so
weird, yeah.
It was very odd. Mixing the 3D and like the, I guess, 2D elements of it were really weird. My biggest thing was freaking Potion Permit, dude. I think this game looks sweet. I love its art style. It reminds me a lot of Moonlighter, so I'm kind of excited for it. Also showed Onsen Master, which is a strategy bathhouse game, which was so weird. But what did you think about the Wholesome Snack Direct?
Yeah. Keep in mind, this article does list only the games that are coming specifically to Nintendo Switch. It's not all the games in the Wholesome Snack.
It's just like the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah. Because Nintendo Life will only talk about Nintendo games.
They very rarely will be like, it's also coming to PC. I'm like, no way. Thank you.
But one of the ones that they didn't shout out because of that was Tracks of Thought, which I'm actually really excited about. Yes, it's a card game. You can go fuck yourself on. But it's very much like the Cards of the Sojourner game that I talked about, where it's all about conversation using cards and trying to communicate with a person using the cards that you have, which is basically a metaphor for the experience you have will allow you to talk to certain people and will allow you to connect with others. And I just really like that metaphor a lot. And so I'm very interested to see what Tracks of Thought does with this.
I feel weird that I didn't notice that it was like a card game or anything, because I remember when this was initially announced in like the last Wholesome Direct, and I was like, oh sweet, it's a Beetle Boy game. And then
it's weird because the whole premise and most of the game that's shown in this Direct was like so let's say it's 1:30. I don't know what it is, but 1:30. It's like 1:10 of just you walking around on this train and being a beetle person and talking to other bugs.
It seems like they were trying to focus on the wholesome aspect of it being like you're trying to find your place.
The last 15 seconds, 20 seconds is just like, oh, it's a card game, by the way. Here you go.
Yeah. I didn't even see that.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like, all right, I'm into it. Because it was one of those.
Otherwise, I would have made more fun of you.
I mean, yeah. See, there you go. It was one of those things where I looked at it. And I did this with a lot of the Wholesome games because, and I'll talk about the entirety of the Wholesome. I want to keep saying convention, and I don't know why.
Snack.
The Wholesome
Direct.
Snack. Yeah, I don't know if I want to call it a snack.
It's weird. It's at the end when she's like, "We're all out of snacks." I was like, Did you make that box specifically for that joke?
Probably.
Would it?
Anyway, yeah, it's a whole lot of snacks. So a lot of the snacks I wasn't too crazy about, and generally I'm not with these wholesome games because oftentimes you find when it's considered the wholesome type, it's like a management or like farm sim in a lot of ways. Like that's generally where they gravitate to with this type. It's not always, and
chill games.
It's chill games, yeah. Which they're just not my style, and that's not to say they're bad games. They're just not for me. They're good jelly, not my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's so good.
Active Josh.
Oh
genius.
Man, he is a genius. Anyway, so a lot of the wholesome snacks I wasn't really crazy about, and then I saw this one and I thought the same thing. I was like, talk to bugs, cool. And then it showed that card part, and I was like, you've got my attention.
Oh, talk to bugs.
Did
Cool.
You say cards? You didn't say cards at first. You know what I'm saying?
You like buried the lead on that one. There's
like,
cards in this game.
Tried to sneak it past me. Anyway, but one thing I will say about the snack in its entirety, this entire direct, is I really love watching these because, like you said, I feel like they are a little bit more entertaining. I like the person that was hosting this, and I really like the community a lot better than anywhere else. Like I tweeted about this. This is the only time that I've watched like a YouTube or a Twitch video and read the comments, because normally it's toxic, just dog shit, like just awful. Rigged, skip, this sucks. Oh, this person is terrible, this game sucks. Oh, where's Last of Us 3? Like dumb shit like this. Like
it's basically like communities of me, and then like for wholesome games it's just nice people.
It's just a bunch of nice people who are like, good game, I liked it, good direct, wow, can't wait to see that one. And I was like, that's fucking refreshing. Like you don't get a lot of that in our industry and our communities that are here. So like, even though this isn't my jam, I'm still like, you people are all right. I'll stick around. I'll keep watching these because it's just a nicer vibe.
I mean, honestly, one of the coolest things about it, I think, was the announcement of the the wholesome, what was it? The wholesome vinyl.
Oh, that thing
they're putting out
was so
that includes
cool.
songs from all different like wholesome stuff. So they had like Spiritfarer, where that's one of the things I had to say about Spiritfarer. That music is chill as hell and it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
like I'll admit that. They had A Short Hike was in there, had some in there. So like they had quite a few different songs from like different disparate like indies that you would consider wholesome and like chill games, and I think that's really, really cool. I didn't see where they were releasing it from. The only place that I actually know that does the vinyl soundtracks is actually I Am 8-Bit.
Yeah,
but I thought that was really cool, and I thought that would be something that you would actually be kind of excited about.
I really need to get a vinyl player, especially now that I have my own house and a place to keep it. But it's called A Slice of Life, and it's specifically being created like from wholesome games. Like I think it's the people who are holding this direct are literally I don't want to say publishing, but like I guess publishing.
They're kind of publishing it,
yeah. So you can get it from their website. It's called A Slice of Life, which, as you know, if I get a record player sometime soon, I will definitely pick this up because it did sound really cool. I liked a lot of the tracks that are on it.
Yeah, it's like they kind of took it's kind of like a it's like a greatest hit albums, but for wholesome indie games.
Yeah. And
it's pretty cool. I thought that was probably the thing I really got into with this one, and how they kept going through the wholesome direct and being like, this song playing right now is actually in that. And I was like, no way, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I like how they kept bringing it up. And they just like kind of had this cohesive thread of the music going through. They were like, this song is featured, this song is featured, this song is featured. I was like, cool. I like this.
Yeah, it's and it's for a good cause because it's also part of if I'm not mistaken, it's called the Galaxy Fund. I think maybe a portion of that goes to it, which is all about grant, a first of its kind grant for women, people of color, LGBTQ founders of game development studios. So it's like there's some good causes to it. I didn't do it any justice, but look up the Galaxy Fund if you want to know more.
Yeah, it's really cool. They in the Wholesome Direct, they had, I believe, the like creator.
Yeah.
Like basically the creator
The founder,
of the Galaxy Fund. Founder. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Because I'm an idiot.
I got you, baby.
Yeah, they had the founder of the Galaxy Fund on there, and she was talking, they were talking about how, basically, like, it's hard to get funding to make a game in general, let alone if you are of these, like, minority groups.
Yep.
So their whole thing is about reaching out specifically to minority groups, or like having them reach out to them so that they can get the funding to make their games, try to do something new, which I think is amazing, because I think that's what indie games are all about, is really like, one, telling the story that you want to tell with like as little outside interference as possible is really a threat of indie games, and like reaching out to small communities, like easily what indie games are about. I'm super into it. Any last tidbits you wanted to talk about with the Wholesome Snack before we move on to our last news story?
No, I think that's it. Let's move on. Okay,
so this last news story, honestly, I might just kind of shoot through this pretty quickly because it's not really news. It's kind of weird,
but not. It's like it's very much the kind of news where I always say, okay, well, show me the money, kind of a thing.
I thought about not including it because it's like, it would be the same reason that I don't talk about how every week GameSpot puts out an article about how possibly the next Stardew Valley update is going to come out soon. And I'm like, why do you keep doing this? Stop.
It's the same thing with stimulus funds here in America. If I see one, I mean, now it's more relevant because of the whole $600 thing, but like from the time that the first stimulus check came out up until now, every week I saw an article that was like, here's what you need to know about the next stimulus check and when it might come. And it's like, you don't know shit. Stop it. Stop doing this.
Yeah, so I typically try not to include stories that don't include actual news or dates, but this one I mostly just wanted to hit on because essentially the developer of Save Me Mr. Tako... Okay, sorry, so I didn't even get into that. This is over on Nintendo Life. It's written by Damian McFerrin, and it is delisted Switch title Save Me Mr. Tako will return better than ever, says creator. So basically, Save Me Mr. Tako was a Game Boy style adventure game, or I guess it's like an action adventure game on the Nintendo Switch. They got pretty good reviews.
It's a pretty fun game
for the most part. I've heard great things. I believe Errol was a fan, and they seemingly had like the developer Christoph Galati had kind of a falling out with the publisher Nicholas, which we've talked about in the past. They've possibly done some shady shit, so it kind of checks out that they might have had a falling out. Yeah. But initially, he was like, they were super kind of like cohesive. They were into it. They're like, I'm glad Nicholas was here. Like, we did some good shit. And then later on, it seemed to be wearing on each other. Where like eventually they like the developer had said things like, after being published by Nicholas for 2 years, it was time for us to like separate ways. And they also said, like, Galati told us exclusively, I can't discuss this matter more, but I'm excited to be able to exploit my game again and do things with my IP.
Strange choice of words.
Yeah, like, I found exploit to be such a weird thing where he's like, I want to exploit my game. Like, I was like, seemingly the word choice there makes me believe that you believe that, makes me believe that you were in some way exploited by Nicholas. Yeah. Or at least you believe that to be the thing. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah, the article mentions it, like, that it's very clear, or it's very easy to put together an idea that
it's kind of like subtext.
Yeah, that, this person was wronged in some way by Nicholas, and that's why this has all come about, even though he's being professional. Like, the dude doing this is pretty smart about that, but also like giving those subtle hints. Maybe not so subtle in this case, but like, who knows what it might be. I don't know. We've talked about Nicholas sucking before. And like, I give them no credit if it's like, I know it's probably bad, but like, benefit of the doubt for me always goes to the person going up against Nicholas based on their track record. So, I mean, we'll see. Saving Mr. Tako was good though. Like, honestly, I really liked it, but there were some things about it that I was like, it's rough around the edges. There's no doubt about that, but it was still a really good like simulation of a retro game, but with a little cutesy twist to it. And some of the, if you look at the article and go like deep into what was fixed or things that he was paying attention to and trying to fix in like this newer version, there are points that definitely will add up to this being a much more polished game. And so I'm excited about that. I do wonder what this means for people like myself who bought the Switch version. Like, do we get an updated version? Or do we have to buy it again?
He essentially says that, like, the article says that because it was entirely delisted from the Nintendo Switch, if it comes back, you will have to purchase it again.
Yeah.
If you wanted to play it on there. Similar to what I assumed is like PC as well, because he's talking about like it coming to Steam as well.
Yeah.
So you would possibly have to purchase it again, but the developer is trying to find some way to where you would not have to, like possibly through like a kind of like a digital code or like a sale of some sort where you wouldn't have to purchase it again, because it seems to be different. The developer has basically said that going forward they're going to try to focus on doing this as a third-party release.
Through Switch.
I think PC. Specifically the developer has said, from now on I will handle PC myself. It includes Steam and many other stores that the game wasn't published on before, he tells us. For consoles, the game will be handled by another publisher I haven't revealed yet, but I can't wait for you to discover what we are planning early next year. So I mean, it does definitely suck for the people who like purchased the game before and it's like delisted entirely. They possibly have to play it again or buy it again, just like you. But I do enjoy that the developer is like, I'm actually trying to find a way to where you won't have to buy it again, but I don't know how that's going to go. And a little bit extra on here, the developer is currently in like the process of making their next game called the Himitsu Project. Which seems to be like their perfected version of making a video game, because he began development on Save Me Mr. Tako when they were 19. When he was 19, and has since learned a lot from Save Me Mr. Tako about video game development. Like they say basically, like, I hate that I'm switching between a gender neutral and a gender term, but it's just something I do. I'm sorry.
It could be tough.
Yeah, but basically they've said that like there were issues with Save Me Mr. Tako that they couldn't see. We've talked about how developers eventually kind of get tunnel vision with their games, especially if they work on it at like solo, so they don't get to see the problems anymore. He says specifically that he didn't get to see the like difficulty issues until the game actually came out, and then he couldn't fix it, seemingly because of Nicholas. Like he said earlier in the, they took a quote that it was like, talking about an update to fix things, said like, it's ready and I guess it will come out on Steam first. Really hope it will be soon, because it's frustrating to see people complaining about issues I fixed a while back. So it seems to be like, yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens with this one. I never got to play Save Me Mr. Tako, so I'm actually kind of interested in it. And the new project, I like the pixel art. From what we can see, it's kind of like just this one still image. So it looks cool, and I think it'll be interesting. But we've pretty much covered that news story, so it's time for us to hop into News
Cram.
All the good stuff. Still don't know how I'm gonna do that transition on YouTube, but
Cram time. There you go.
Boom. Back to the old days. So, News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of Indie Pod and Indie Games Podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week, we do not have any quick news stories or any new deals or quick steals, with the exception of, technically it's not indie, but literally every day, Epic Game Store is giving out a new game for free.
I know.
So, if you give a shit about free games on PC, get on Epic Game Store every day. You can pick up one, and for everyone you download, they give you a $10 off coupon. But they only give you one. The one thing I will say that is super annoying about the Epic Game Store is that you can't actually develop a cart. You have to buy one game by itself every time you want to purchase something. You can't put like 5 games in there, kind of a deal.
That is a struggle. I would never know that.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're doing an unlimited $10 off coupon. But you can only, like, since they have it, you can only use it on a game that's $14.99 or higher.
Yep.
Its base price has to be that. And then you can use it, so they make essentially $5 on it no matter what. And every time you essentially, like, when you purchase a game, you'll get another coupon. So, like, if you use the coupon, so I bought Ashen on the Epic Game Store because it was $14.99. I used the $10 coupon, so I paid, or it was $15.99, so I paid like $6.
Yep.
And I bought Ashen, and then I immediately got another $10 off coupon, which will allow me to purchase another game. But it's like, it's $10, and I have to guaranteed spend $5 on a game, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm thinking about actually buying the Remnant DLC, but. There's your new deal and quick steal. Some new stuff. Our first 2 items of new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it is reported that action-adventure game Olesia by Skeleton Crew and Thomas Olsen. Olsen? I don't know how to say that name.
Sure.
Is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on January 28th, 2020. And that Metroidvania Alwa's Awakening by Elden Pixels is officially getting an NES port in 2021 with cool. New and exclusive content, yet no release date was given. Now over on IGN, where it's reported that Innersloth's popular deception game Among Us is now on Xbox Game Pass PC, with console versions coming in 2021, as well as Supergiant Games' smash roguelite hit Hades now supports cross saves between PC and the Nintendo Switch versions of the game.
Dope.
And to round out the group, over on GameSpot, it is reported that Spry Fox LLC has just announced their upcoming Animal Crossing-esque collectathon, Cozy Grove. Cozy Grove.
Cozy Grove.
I just spelled it wrong. I put Coxy Grove.
Coxy Grove. That's my kind of grove.
Pretty weird. So Cozy Grove, which will be headed to last gen and current gen consoles. So what I mean by that is like PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch. Those would be last gen. Current gen being PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. Those would be current gen, essentially. It's coming to all of them, as well as PC via Steam in the first half of 2021. That Cozy Grove was actually in the Wholesome Snack Direct.
Yep.
It's just not one we talked about at the time. So as well as roguelike deck builder Dicey Dungeons by Terry Kavanagh is now available on the Nintendo Switch. That hand-drawn beat-em-up Tunchi by Leap Game Studios is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on March 23rd, 2021. And lastly, that Sky Children of Light by That Game Company is set to arrive on the Nintendo Switch sometime in the first half of 2021. That was, of course, delayed. It was originally supposed to come like earlier, I believe in like 2020, but they had to delay it because of the coronavirus, as per like basically every other game
right
that was supposed to come out in 2020.
It happens.
Has been delayed because of the coronavirus, so I totally get it. It's normal. So, Josh, we have been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it's time for us to give back to the creators in our next segment, God Bless the Crowd. This week, we are headed over to Fig instead of Kickstarters. Big Josh boy found something on Fig again.
Hell yeah, it's about time.
This game is called Push Your Family. The developers are seeking $50,000. They currently have $14,915 with 25 days and 16 hours left to go. I don't see what the developer's actually called. I'm trying to find the developer's name. Whatever.
Meteor Mug?
Okay, there you go.
Meteor Mug. I don't know if that's
Does it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay, I see that now. Okay, so Big Josh boy, what do you think about Push Your Family? Give me your opinions.
Yeah, so this is not one for me. It's not to say that it's a bad game. It's just not my good jelly, not my jam. I'm stealing
Sorry
that.
for stealing your shit, Josh.
I'm stealing that, man. It's just too good. It's too good to keep. You can't keep all that jelly and jam to yourself, Josh. All right, share some for the rest of the class. Because this is definitely a good party game in some regards. Where it's kind of like a Gang Beats in some way.
Gang Beasts.
Beasts, yeah. What did I say? Beats?
Beats.
Close enough. Them gang beats, you know what I'm talking about? But it's like you just fighting by pushing each other, and you can basically jump at them and push them into objects. There's different game modes. One of them that I think is really cool is like a quarantine one where you're stuck inside your house and there's like a disinfecting chamber that you have to go into, otherwise you're stinky and you can't get outside the house and you have to stink people up, basically. I think that's so funny. But I don't see myself really playing this, and if I did, it would be someone else had it and I was just like, oh, let me check this out kind of a thing. Like, this is a good, like, someone else has it and you play it and then you're kind of like, that was fun, and then we probably don't do it ever again kind of a thing. Which sucks. Like, I don't mean to speak ill will about this game. Some people probably might like love this, but another thing is, it's also one of those things where you need to really feel like you will have a good time with this game, because right now they're not, like, their initial goal won't have online multiplayer, which sucks. Their goal is 50,000. Their actual online multiplayer stretch goal is double that. Which,
holy crap.
Yeah, which I get it. Like, their plan is to actually hire someone who is specifically just focused on the online aspect to it, because there is a lot of work that goes into making that work.
Yeah.
So I get it. But if you're not a person who has a ton of people to play this game with, which I have my wife, but like, I feel like 2 people isn't enough to have like the most fun with this type of game. Like, I feel like you need it to be all 4 people. If you don't have that regularly, and especially right now because of quarantine time, like, it's not going to work out as well, which is the shitty part. Like, I hate it because there's a lot of good games out there that I feel like would be so fun because they look like a lot of fun, but then they're like, no online multiplayer. And I'm like, well, great. You just made it so I won't get your game. And it's not like there's anything wrong with it. It's just, I have all of my friends who I play games with are online and they're never around, especially now. Like, so I wouldn't be able to play it.
I feel like the days of like LAN parties and stuff, like, people still do it, but it's a very disparate thing. It doesn't happen that often, especially right now since we live in Coronaville.
Right.
So
good old Coronaville.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Love it. My hometown.
Come on down to Coronaville. We'll kill your grandparents.
Yeah. So I feel like online multiplayer is just, it's a necessity nowadays because gaming culture is not really about LAN parties anymore. Like, it's cool to go over to your friend's house and play some Smash every now and then, but I feel like online multiplayer is how video games are enjoyed with your friends now. Ever since, freaking the like Xbox 360 era, it's basically how people enjoy multiplayer games now. So I totally understand that it's a feat that people have to get over. But I think it's something that your game kind of needs to launch with nowadays. Yeah. Because especially launching now, it's like, dude, you can't ask people to go. It's the same issue that I had with Bounty Battle, that they didn't offer like online co-op kind of a thing. It was only like local multiplayer. And I was like, dude, you launched your game during the coronavirus pandemic. You have to know that I can't play this game with other people.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like, and it sucks because it does look like a fun game, honestly. Like, I love the aesthetic to it. I love the weird physics to it. I love the way dogs look in it because they don't look like their dogs are just a ton of toy-looking corgis, which look super friggin' cute. But I wouldn't have enough people to play this on the regular.
Yeah, neither would I. Honestly, these games have never really been my thing. I wasn't like super into like Gang Beasts. I believe there's that other one right now that's coming out that's very similar. That's called like, shoot, I can't remember. It's basically the same fucking thing, but you are dressed up like animals. It's like fur or something. Fist of Furry. I don't know.
Fur beasts.
Something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah, fur beasts. I don't get them.
Furby?
Furbies.
Those things are scary.
Yeah, dude, they're fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Without that skin, they're scary as shit. So I guess everything's scary without their skin.
Kinda.
That's kind of a staple of what you need to not be terrifying is your skin. So yeah, I'm not super into them. I've never really cared about them. I don't play games with people all that often, and when I do, it's mostly like first-person shooters or soon to be something like Divinity kind of a thing. It's just, or MMOs. Love MMOs. Big fan of MMOs, but I just don't.
They're terrible.
They're so good, dude. I fucking love them.
They're so bad.
I just don't. I don't like these games. This is not to say they're bad games. Once again, good jelly, not my jam. But
hell yeah! Sorry,
genius.
Meteor Mug, but if any of this sounded interesting, definitely check it out because it's only $17 to get in if for the early backers, and then if not, it's $19, which I don't think is unreasonable. I think it's pretty good for getting a digital key. They say that it'll be Q2 2021, so like not too far out. I think it's worth a shot if you like this type of game.
Yeah, and I really hope they hit that stretch goal of online multiplayer because I feel like it's just kind of a necessity to launch with that nowadays, or they at least like eventually get it. But yeah, I do appreciate it. I don't really have much else to say about it. I like the art style. I think it looks cool. That quarantine mode is definitely super cute. How like it seems like to exit the house you have to do so when everyone is clean. But it's very like everyone tries to make sure at least one person's dirty so that no one else can exit.
Is it everyone is clean or is it only you can only exit? Like I think it's you can only exit when one person, like if you're clean. And the other people who are stinky are like playing guard and defense to stink you up and then run to the shower and then try to get back. Like
it might be.
Yeah,
it might be. It's very interesting. It looks kind of cool. But it's just it's not a game that I will probably play. Any final thoughts before we move into our listener questions?
No, I think that's it. Like I said, if it looked interesting, give them a check.
Okay, so of course, once again, that is Push Your Family over on fig.co, so please head over there if you are a fan of like wacky physics-based like multiplayer party games. Head over there, back them, $17 will get you in on the ground floor, you'll get the game, and it'll possibly release next year, so that's kind of exciting.
Good stuff.
Now, it's time for our listener questions. So we're back from a brief break, quick jump cut there more than likely in the video version. So we are now into our listener questions. Our first listener question is not really a question, it is an ask of me. And I'm not happy about it, okay? Ooh. So to give a little backstory to this, my friend Chase, he hit me up like last week, like we were talking, same thing when I said you got a beautiful donk. He was like, dude, you should tell people about this story. And I was like, I'll do that. Kind of like I'll do it eventually kind of a thing. Like if I remember, I'll do it. Right. And then to make sure that I did it, because he wants it so bad, he wrote in and was like, my question is less of a question. I want Vaughn to talk about that time I tried to get him into $1 billion podcast idea. He very much thinks this is like $1 billion thing. And I'll be completely honest. It might actually be in some way because literally just because of how fucking toxic politics are. So to give a little background on this, Chase and I, we're chilling. We are doing what's called like filling K-cups. So we're sitting at work and we essentially have to take 20 K-cups. Like you know what a K-cup is. Pretty much everyone who has like a Keurig knows what it is. Yep. We have to take them, put 20 in a box, seal it, and then we like put stickers on it and shit. We're doing this one day because we're super slow because of the coronavirus. And I forget how we got on the... Oh, you know what? I remember how we got on the topic. It's because one of our coworkers was like super into InfoWars. He was like... He very much enjoyed it. He held some weird political views. Like, he was a nice guy. He was just kind of an interesting dude. Super into InfoWars. And Chase and I were just like... Kind of like... It was around the protests. It was around that time. Which I actually think there are actually still some protests going on, which is kind of interesting, but which I'm glad about. Mm-hmm. But it was around that time, and I forget how we got on the topic necessarily, but Chase wanted to create what would essentially be a fake alt-right podcast where we would put on a persona of like an Alex Jones-esque character.
So basically doing like what Stephen Colbert did years back.
Yeah, for the most part. And just like making this like hardcore toxic fucking podcast.
Oh, God.
And for people who like, it was kind of like, it would be like a podcast for idiots. Like it would just be like hardcore into like fucking, I want to say like conspiracy theories and shit like that. Like it's essentially InfoWars. That's what it would be, but it wouldn't be serious. It would just be like nobody would understand that it's actually a joke.
Right.
Kind of a thing. And the catchphrase was essentially like gaslight the nation.
Oh my God.
It's just the dumbest fucking shit. And he till this day thinks it's so funny and he wants it to happen so badly, kind of a thing.
Oh,
it's so interesting.
I don't want to be a co-host of that person.
No, yeah, I get it. I literally was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And he was like, Vaughn, $1 billion. We could do it. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like that's begging for me never to have a job ever again in any other thing.
Yeah,
like one episode comes out and it's like,
yeah, the minute you do
I'll
that,
never get hired to do anything.
You have to commit 100% to it. It's like, well,
and I couldn't do that. I have a hard time committing to just my standard bits of like the biggest of average Josh boys and shit like that. Like I could never commit to this. Like an Alex Jones-esque persona, I could never do it. I couldn't. Also, I believe he wrote this in just because he wanted to see how I would actually like explain it to you, how exactly this went. And that reminded me that Rob from the Classic Gaming Podcast, the reason he wanted me to watch that anime was so that I would explain it. And I have forgot to do so the past 2 weeks since I actually watched it. So I think it's called like, What Are You Doing Here, Senpai?
Yeah.
And the premise of it is that this kid and like various kids continue to like find themselves in awkward like borderline hentai scenarios with their teachers, and they're just like hot MILF teachers for the most part. So like the episode starts off with like this guy enjoying to go to this specific bathroom because no one is ever in it. He's like, yeah, at this specific time, no one's ever in it. I can go take a shit in peace, or I can go pee in peace, kind of a thing.
Right.
And then he enters the stall and his teacher is there, and he's like, and he's just like sees her on the toilet, and then these lacrosse dudes like come in, and he's like, why didn't you lock it? And it's like the latch doesn't work and all sorts of stuff. And these lacrosse dudes come in and they have to like hide so no one finds them, and she ends up peeing in front of him and he watches, and it's so weird. And then like he tries to skip out of class by going to the nurse's office, but it turns out that teacher is there and she has a fever, and the only flu or fever medication they have is actually like a rectal one, and he has to insert it in her ass and accidentally pokes her vagina, and it's so weird.
All right, enough of this crazy anime bullshit. Get out of here.
Yeah, so that wasn't even a question. That was just, I feel like I had to talk about it. So then, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Emperor of Australia, writes in and says, what is your primary video game playing history? So he explains this a little bit more. Mm-hmm. He wants us to basically go down this, like he says, me, for example, 1984 to 1993, nothing. He got nothing. You got 93 to 95, his primary console at the time, or his primary platform is Game Boy. 95 to 97, Super Nintendo. 97 to 2002 was the N64. 02 to 04 was the GameCube. 04 to 10 is PC. And then he just hops on to the Wii for some reason. His primary platform was Wii from 2010 to 2012. I don't even know how you hold those controllers with your tiny wombat hands, bro. Like, oh, you know what? He probably has his subjects do it for him. He's the emperor.
That's true. Emperor always wins.
From 2012 to 2014, he's on PS3. 2015, PS4. I find it kind of weird that he's only on PS4 for 1 year. And not even, like, I don't even think it's a full year, because he also says 15 to 17 was PC. So, Did you just abandon your PS4? You're just like, I bought it, then I was like, nah. I don't want to do that.
Good times. I'm good with it.
17 to 20 was the Nintendo Switch, and moving forward, he has the Xbox Series X. And he says, like, I've had other consoles through the ages, and PC gaming has always been in the background, but that list represents where the bulk of my gaming is at the time, like the particular point in time. He says, sorry for the long question, but at least it wasn't about poop this time.
That's true.
Josh, what is your breakdown of your, like, primary gaming consoles?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have a number of consoles when I was a kid. I know not everyone has that same luxury, I guess I'll use it as, or benefit. But for me, around using the same kind of timetable, I would say that I was big into a Super Nintendo and a Genesis back when they first came out. I had a Game Boy throughout that time, and was pretty big on Game Boy, but it was more of like if there were ever road trips or things like that. I didn't play it too much otherwise, although I did have a number of games. I then went from Super Nintendo to the N64. I eventually got a PS2 and a GameCube and had those and played those. I then moved away from the PlayStation life to go to Xbox for the Xbox 360 era. And then I did have a Wii. I don't remember using it a crazy amount, though, to be honest. But then after that, I went to I didn't go to a PS3. I basically stayed with the 360 until eventually after that I went to PC, and then I've pretty much been there for the most part. Every so often, like I go, I had a PS4 before it broke, and played a few games there, but like I never really played too much there. And then I had a Switch, which I mainly just play for the ease of being able to take it where you want to go, even though I don't really do that much anymore. So now it's more for like the console exclusivity in that regards. But honestly, ever since like after the 360, I've pretty much been a PC gamer primarily anyway.
Okay. So for me, I actually I'm 25. I was born in 1995. So
That's crazy.
I didn't actually like how you have like nothing from 84 to like 93. I pretty much didn't actually play games until my like teen years kind of a thing. Like I started my biggest platform, I would say probably in the early like 2000s, similar to you, or like the 90s, 2000s, was I had a Game Boy Color for a little while, and I played I believe I had Pokemon Red, and I played that a lot on my Game Boy, and then eventually got a Game Boy Advanced, which I moved over to playing like the third generation of Pokemon games. So I played a lot of like Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. I initially had Ruby, never actually got Sapphire, I don't believe, but I eventually got Emerald, and I was like, fuck yeah, preferred, that's the best. Everyone loves Emerald, it's good. I always loved the third version. They were fucking great.
All right.
So I played on Game Boy pretty much up until like my Chase Hopkins, the guy I was talking about. He and I basically just like played fucking Game Boy all the time. For the most part, I had a PS2 at the time, and I played Psychonauts and I played Champions of Norath, but really my main console or my main gaming platform was my Game Boy, basically up until I would say maybe I guess 2005 or later. I got basically like a GameCube and a original Xbox, and I barely played the GameCube. I was so excited for the GameCube that I barely played it. Like I played Twilight Princess and some Smash Bros, some Melee on there, and I also played like Gale of Darkness and Coliseum, the Pokemon games, but I never actually like played that much. I pretty much moved entirely over the Xbox, where I just played Fable all the time.
Fable's great, man.
Just literally all the time I played fucking Fable. And eventually got the Lost Chapters, and I was like, what? It just fucking played the Lost Chapters all the time. And then after that generation, I probably around, like I would say like 2010, 2012, I'm not 100% certain on these. I got a 360. I bought it off eBay. So I sold my drum set, and I bought it off eBay, and it came and it had the red ring of death. No, and I was like, fuck. And had to, luckily, the person who owned it before did not actually like send it into Microsoft. So my mom ended up finding out that I could do that. So we sent it into Microsoft, and I like got it fixed, and they sent it back to me. And I played like Dragon Age Origins and Fable 2 a shitload. Played them all the time. Love those
Damn.
games.
Well,
Fable
I'm glad
2.
you could get it fixed. That sucks. What a jerk, man.
Oh, yeah.
What an
Yeah.
asshole. Don't
Dick
trust
move.
eBay.
Yeah, I bought it and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it was so upsetting, but yeah, I ended up getting it fixed after like a couple months. I had to send it to Microsoft. They sent it back fixed. And then that boy, like, the 360 still runs. It was an Elite. It still runs. I gave it to my sister and her kids when I moved to my PlayStation 3, which was like, I played the 360 basically up until like, I would say probably around 20, I want to say like, I don't know. I had it for several years. I basically had it for like basically up until like 2014, but I played the PS3 for the most part at that time. Once again, these dates are like different.
It's all out of order. It's fine.
Yeah, I was on 360 for the longest time, and then Chase actually convinced me to get a PS3, and then I just played.
Move.
See, I did it for the online. I didn't have to pay for online. That was the thing, and I didn't know about Xbox Live Arcade at the time. So I completely missed out on the most amazing part of the fucking 360.
I loved my 360, man. The 360 days were my favorite from a console perspective.
I just played a bunch of Oblivion. That's basically all I played on my 360, and I played the original Mass Effect. Oh, and I played like Fable 2, and I played Dragon Age Origins. And then like I got a PS3, Mass Effect collection. I fucking played the shit out of that. I bought Fable again, Fallout New Vegas. Like I played all of these, or not Fable again. I bought Oblivion again, and yeah, Fable. No.
What?
And so then eventually I bought like a PlayStation 4, and that was my primary console. Probably like a year, I think, after the PlayStation 4 came out, I ended up purchasing it. My primary console for the longest time, I ended up buying a Nintendo Switch and an Xbox One, but I rarely ever played them, mostly just for exclusives. And then this year, I moved over primarily to PC, and I'm loving it.
We converted them, boys!
Yeah, super easy. Indies are always on there. I also, like, I can play whatever fucking game I want because I built my PC that way, so it's pretty nice. Like, I love it. Love playing on PC. Never going back.
Can play Cyberpunk if you want.
Yeah, dude. I can actually play Cyberpunk. The only thing that sucks is, dude, I want to play Demon's Souls super bad, but I don't have a PS5.
The struggle.
Fuck me. So hopefully that answers your question, Your Excellency. So now moving on to Mix's question. Have you ever shit yourself while gaming? Even better if it was due to gaming. This one's going to be an easy one. Nah.
No, never.
See, I don't understand how people poop their pants. I've only done it, like, I literally, like, when I was a kid, yes, I understand that. Because it's just something that happens. You don't understand how to control your bladder and stuff like that. The only other time I've ever pooped my pants, I think I was, like, 10, and I just sharted. Like, I thought I was going to fart and I shit my pants. Like,
it happens.
And I was just literally like, I remember it. I was sitting on my bed. And I was just chilling. I think I was playing like fucking Pokemon or something. And I just fucking pooped my pants. Like, only time that has ever happened to me.
No.
And then I've always made it to bathrooms. I always like, even if I have to sprint, I will make it to a bathroom. But yeah, I've never pooped my pants while gaming.
Nope.
I guess maybe while gaming, if that time was while gaming, but I have no idea.
Yeah, never. Never pooped my pants.
I don't understand how people poop their pants, dude. I don't get it. I
don't know.
I really don't.
Maybe we'll get one of them on here to tell us.
Maybe I'll get my wife someday to tell me how she
Oh my
poops her
God, you
pants
got
all
to
the
stop
time.
talking about that. I feel so bad for her. I'm always like, I told my wife that some of the stories that you say about her, and she was like, you are never allowed to tell stories like that of me. And I was like, I wouldn't, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I definitely, I take liberties with what I share of other people too. Cause I overshare to the maximum on this podcast about myself. And then
really?
I'm just like, you know what?
You think?
People already know that I'm doing it about myself. So I'm just going to do it about them too.
That's why I never tell you secrets.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. So Sam Fillion from Canada writes in and says, what are 3 things on your bucket list? Could be things you want to do or things you want to acquire or whatever suits you. Except stealing Christmas, Vaughn, you fucking Grinch.
He got you.
There goes my whole list.
I know. Ruin Christmas, and ruin Christmas.
Yeah, dude,
Done.
I wanted to kill Santa Claus like Tim Allen in the titular movie, The Santa Claus, but then instead of becoming him, he's just dead.
All right. Good luck on that movie.
You're like, I don't think that would ever sell.
I don't think that's going to sell very well. I mean, maybe you will. You'll be the one person who buys it.
I'll be like,
big
brain moves. It's galaxy brain right there.
That's.
I no joke. I fucking. In one of my last papers that I wrote, it was like a from now till death paper, for like a kind of like a freshman cornerstone class. It was kind of a dumb class to take, and I wrote that I basically made a joke about having a degree and how I've always been insecure about my intelligence, but now it's nice to have like a literal piece of paper that says that I've got the galaxy brain that I always wish I had. I actually wrote that in the paper, and I was like, I'm not even ashamed of this. I'm glad I wrote that.
Yeah, that checks out.
So, do you have any bucket list items? 3 bucket list items.
3 bucket list items. I think the fact that nothing comes to mind is a big issue with who I am as a person anyway. I don't know, because I mean, I've done quite a few just this year specifically that I think would count as bucket list for a lot of people, like, getting a house. I'm married. I have a reasonably well-paying and like job that I'm happy with. But like things that I would want to do, I don't really know. Like I'd love from a bucket list perspective to at one point be more known in this industry for like what we do. I think is the only thing that I would say is like bucket list, like recognizable. But other than that, like this kind of goes into that question that we talked about of like, what would you do with infinite money? And you and I were both like, I don't know, not much. Like,
I don't really have a bucket list, honestly. Like I'm kind of like my entire life is just me trying to find a time where I can just be content. Like I just want to be fine. I want to be secure. I want to be happy, kind of a deal. Like I don't have anything. Like I'm afraid of too many things to have a bucket list. Like I don't want to go skydiving. I don't give a fuck about running with the bulls. Like I feel like most of this stuff is just like experience the earth, and I'm like, the earth fucking sucks. I don't want it.
I think the bucket list for me is really just traveling as much as I can. Like honestly, like I just want to travel to a bunch of places. I used to love it. Even though I can't, I'm deathly afraid of flying. Like I hate it. I deal with it because I don't want to take a bus or drive somewhere because that takes way too long. But like I just love traveling to different places, eating different foods, experiencing different cultures, experiencing different like drinks and just anything from different cultures. I love it. So I would say like that's the main thing, other than having some form of fame from this show or the things that we create. Those are probably the only 2 things that I could really think of.
Yeah. IndiePod succeeding and actually creating some sort of a career out of it is definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't foresee myself ever having a career in this, but I'd love to be known by people that I look up to in this industry and have it where like if I don't know, if someone like the people from an IGN or a GameSpot like were to reference us in anything ever, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, we made it. Like
you're like, I could die now.
Yeah, like it would be so cool because it's very, it's very not rewarding, but it's like it's encouraging to think that like, oh, I'm doing something well enough for people who do this for a living, like are actually paid for it in that regards from an organization, are acknowledging the work that we do, right? And that's not to say that the fans are any less, but it's a different feeling when it's someone who's doing it already and as actually saying like, yeah, good job kind of a thing. And plus, I want us to be doing something where people look at it and like we have a following in that regards. Like I love the community that we're already, kind of building. Like I think it's crazy that anyone listens to us. Like I had someone who reached out the other day and was like, hey, we talked about this before the podcast. There's people who message me on Twitter sometimes and they're like, are you the biggest of average Josh boys? And I think it's fucking insane that anyone in their right mind actually even reaches out to me, let alone, will say something like, oh, I just wanted to message you and say like, hey, I enjoy the podcast, or like, I enjoy what you're doing. Like, it's fucking great. Like, it's so cool to have someone say like, good job, I like what you do.
Yeah. Honestly, I hate how I always turn things negative, but there is something that admittedly annoys me that I do, that is tangentially related to what you said. So there's something that happens. So we've had larger games industry people on the podcast before, and I really enjoy them. Like Jake Decker, he's an amazing person and I really like him. Tom Marks is really cool to talk to. Like, yeah. All of these people are awesome. The only thing that annoys me about those experiences is when they go on their podcast and somebody asks them what they did, they will not say that they went on yours. Yeah. Which, I mean, I totally get it. It's like, who the fuck cares if you went on an indie games podcast called Indie Pod? But it's literally something that I just wish would happen above all else, is somebody literally, like, I guess it's in the same thing as you, them to just say it.
Yeah.
To just
it means a hell of a lot. Say the name. Like, it means a hell of a lot because, like, for one, it's recognition because someone who watches their stuff is like, what the hell is Indie Pod, and looks it up. But two, it's just the fact that, like, there's a whole thing about just being mentioned and having some kind of, like this endorphin reaction of like, holy shit, I'm making a difference in someone's life, or someone is acknowledging me in any way, shape, or form. You're obviously going to feel good about it in some way.
Yeah, it's just, it always bothered me because I was just like, just say it. Just say it. You can even just say you went on an indie games podcast. You don't even have to say it. Just fucking, it's like, it bothers me every time. But some of my bucket list items, I guess I would like to have a kid. That's something that for the longest time when I was younger, I didn't want to have kids because I had this like weird notion that I was just like, the world's fucked up and I don't want to make it even more fucked up.
Yeah. So like with your wife, or you're just going to take one?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to, I mean, kidnapping may be an option eventually if I've got like bum eggs, bum balls. But that was a joke, by the way. I'm never going to kidnap anybody.
I would hope that.
Hopefully.
The people listening know that.
Yeah, I would love to have a kid. I would love to have a career on this. Just people talking about it. And I guess like one thing that I would love to do is actually put out a legitimate piece of media. Like I would love to possibly make a game, or I would love to eventually write and actually have like a published comic book. That's cool. That's like a bucket list item. I would love to do that. It's something that I wanted to do in 2020, but I really just got caught up with like school work and everything, so I didn't really get on it. Plus, I didn't know what story exactly I was going to write, but eventually I really want to. But I hope that answers your question, Sam. We've got a couple bucket list items, but really have no fucking idea.
Sounds about right.
Yep. I realized that I actually copied something that Will C did not actually write as a question, but I find it so hilarious that I'm going to read it anyway.
Oh my God, you're going to read this story.
The term bucket list always reminds me of my high school PE coach. He said something to me that would put him in jail in this day. I forgot what led up to him saying it, but he said most people's wives have a bucket list. My wife has a fuck it list. And Crazy laughed. I was like, what? I realized that wasn't actually a question. I was like, I'm going to read it anyway. But Will C also writes in and says, if you had to share your wife with Keanu Reeves or Norman Reedus, who would you pick and why would it be Vin Diesel? So if you had to share your wife with Keanu Reeves and Norman Reedus, who would you pick and why would it be Vin Diesel? Big Josh boy.
No.
It would never be Vin Diesel.
It would never be Vin Diesel.
In no shape or form would it be Vin Diesel. Xander Cage, Dominic Toretto, his egg-headed ass will never...
No.
Like, I enjoy that he's a nerd, but nah, dude. But freaking Norman Reedus, bro. Daryl Dixon, fucking, I don't know, what is it, Sam Porter Bridges? Like, I love that Will C was like, yeah, that guy could carry a lot of shit. Like... If I had to share my wife with anybody, it would be the person who can carry a lot.
I mean, I guess that is a good reason.
Yeah. I was like, out of sheer practicality, I almost have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, he could carry everything. Literally is like Atlas walking with the world on his shoulders. Like, fucking bro carries 25 suitcases. I can barely carry my backpack. So.
That's true.
I get it. Keanu Reeves, beautiful man. Beautiful, but he's too beautiful. That's the thing. Is like, he's got too good of hair. I'm already balding. Like, I don't need that in my life. Plus, he's got them John Wick skills, and it's like, once again, I got to be able to be like, gah. And I don't think I could do it with Norman Reedus, but I feel like he just wouldn't try to make a move on me. That's the thing. Like, but Keanu Reeves, for some reason, I feel like he's got that pent-up aggression from I don't know, from people not liking fucking the Matrix movies or something. So, like, I feel like he might make a move. I just can't handle it. But Norman Reedus, he'd be like, let me carry, your car. I'd be like,
let me carry your car, please.
I would never have to fucking fill up my gas tank ever again. He would just, like, fucking buckle it onto his back and, like, walk me places.
That sounds great.
Like, yeah.
I guess I have to go with him then. I don't know. I hate wife sharing or the idea of it. It grosses me out. I know after
You're
I
never gonna go to a key party?
No, God no. The idea of it is so like weird to me. Like when I was in college and there were things that I did that were like obviously swapping around with other people back when I didn't have like a relationship, I was fine with it. But like in a committed relationship now, the people who do this, I'm always like not to say any
shit on swinging.
Yeah, like if that's what you're into and you're in a a trusted relationship and you're both fine with it and like it's all good, no one's getting hurt, like more power to you, man. But like me personally, no thank you. Like it's too weird. I can't take that like the personal feeling out of I don't know, man. It's so fucking weird. I
get it.
It's so strange to me.
Moving on to the next question. The In From Japan podcast hosted by Errol Moss and Jason. I don't know how to say your last name, dude. I always say Korcher, but once again, your name is just so cool, and I'm never going to be able to say it. Two friends of the show, also a Parallax Media podcast. They write in and say, if you had to create a fast food menu item based on an indie game released in 2020, what would it be? I like that you nailed it down to 2020 also, because that just makes it that much harder.
The carry-on loaf. It's literally a meatloaf that is just really disgusting looking.
Oh my God, yeah, you can make an entire fast food menu just out of disgusting meats. Things that vaguely look like vaginas.
Yeah.
Like, you could easily do that.
Yeah.
You freaking did it.
Yeah.
You did it. That's the best fast food menu that anyone could ever create.
I mean,
it's just like literally your entire restaurant's idea would just be sketchy meats.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't know what kind of meat it is. Like it's kind of like if you've ever seen the League, like the Yoba Goya thing, they're like, legally we cannot call this beef. So it's a tasty brown treat. Like it's that kind of a deal.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
Easy. Yeah, that's the best answer. I can't top that. I can't even I don't know. I thought about like an Ori thing, but I was like, how hilarious is that it's all about kind of like forest conservation? And I'm just like, I'll fucking eat you.
Yeah. You
stupid little rat boy.
Oh, God. Anyway.
So, I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. So that's just a perfect one. Sketchy meats. I like it. And Eldar Basic. I am the co-host on ETG, the Elder Talks Games podcast. He's changed it around, so I think it's just ETG now. But he's a great guy. I very much enjoy him. He writes in and says, could you do an unto the end type journey in the Viking Age in real life if you had to?
First off, you're on way too many podcasts, buddy.
Just 3.
Just 3. Yeah, okay. And could I 100%? I would die so quick. Would not make it. I
mean, follow-up question. I never saw an Unto the End. Do they have a dick and balls? Because based on what we have what we know as the winning fighting strategy, just fucking tear their balls off. Like that, I would just dick twist, easy. That. If they were only male enemies, like, because they're trolls and shit, like gigantic things that look like fucking wombas or whatever they're called, like wampas, I think, from Star Wars. There's like some of those, just huge trolls and shit. Things that look like frost trolls from the Elder Scrolls series, like it's all them. If they're all dudes and I can twist their dick off, yeah, I could do it, okay? Like, it would be cold, but I could do it. But one lady comes up, I'd die.
That's true.
In all honesty, though, I would be fucking dead in an instant. Like, literally, the entire idea of that game is you existing in a world that everything is stronger than you. I'm like, that's now.
That's... But now there's no civilization or society to stop it from killing me.
Yeah, exactly. I would die so fast. I would be like, I would just, because like in the game you can give people stuff to like let them, so you can pass just without a battle. I'd be like, would you like this chocolate? And they would just be like, and take it. They'd just fucking kill me in a second. They'd be like, you look too ugly to exist in this world, and just fucking clap me. I'd be dead.
So sad. I'm going to be honest. A big portion of you talking, I wasn't paying attention because I was too busy thinking of trying to name that, what it would be called for basically like trying to name something for the you always winning a fight by grabbing their dick and twisting it. And it was something like the dick twist phenomenon was like the thing that came into my mind. I was just like sitting there. I was like, what's a clever name that we could bring that up where you don't have to say that each time we go into this tangent?
Yeah, I don't have to explain it every time. We need a shorthand for the dick twist.
Yeah, which would be DTP.
Yeah. There you go. So you would also die. You would die pretty quick.
For sure. I'm dead.
I don't know, dude. Once again, saw you stand up. You got the muskies. You could fucking do it. I'm pretty sure you could punch a troll.
No. 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 I would die. 100%.
Definitely. We'd be dead. Seconds. Be fucking dead. I'd just kill myself. I'd be like, nah, I don't want to deal with it, and just kill myself.
Like, we had a good run.
Yeah. I had a good 25 years. Just kill myself. So that is the end of this episode. Thanks, everyone, so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside the show, you could do so in a bunch of different ways. You can hit us up at IndiePod. Make sure to follow us there for notifications of things that I can't talk about on the podcast because they're just going to end too quickly, like often what happens with new deals and quick steals. You can write in your questions for the show or your weird shit that you'd like us to talk about, to basically hear me explain to Josh this weird fucking shit. Please join our Discord. I have a link to it now that is actually clickable because I forgot to change the link that I had there to not expire after a day. So Errol told me today, and I changed it. Now it never expires. So you could join our Discord, become a patron. You get a specific like Patreon role in the Discord, and you also get a specific place where only patrons can post, which is pretty cool. And we have some discussions in there. All sorts of fun stuff. You can follow me specifically at Hyde Legion, HYDELEGION, for all sorts of dumb bullshit. Whatever. I don't know.
Whatever we talk about.
Hear me talk about stupid shit. And you can follow Josh at _George90 on Twitter. And you can find him over on Twitch at _George, correct?
That is correct.
There you go. There you go. Anything else you want to pimp out before we hop off?
No. The only thing I'll say is I do have some time off coming up in the immediate future. So I might be around a bit more and trying to stream. I've been kind of struggling to keep up with an actual schedule or pace or even doing it at all. So might be around a little bit more.
Even doing it at all.
Yeah, might be around a little bit more. So if you want to hang out, I usually stream late nights, Monday through Friday. Maybe I'll be on, maybe I won't. Who knows? But
the perfect schedule. Ambiguity. It's like, it's ambiguous.
I mean, because I'm not a big streamer. I'm not a famous person. I don't care. It's just sometimes I might be there, and if you want to watch and you're around, I'll be willing to have you.
All right, maybe you should stand up more. Show the people the donk. Maybe you'll get more. You could become a booty streamer.
Oh, you want to see my booty?
You could be a thought. I don't even know what that means, by the way. I don't understand that classification. It's so dumb. Whatever.
Just use it. Cares? Use it till it makes sense.
Yeah, you can no longer call people simps on Twitch anymore.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's okay. You can call me a simp.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. You can call me a virgin. You can call me a simp. I don't care. But that is the end of this podcast, or episode specifically, not the podcast.
We're done, baby. It's over. Let's fucking go home.
Thanks, everyone, so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.